because Ninja, who had been following him in Hong Kong, had immediately committed suicide after being subdued by Zhou Hao. Since Captain Hao was related to Ninja of Japan, it was possible that there was poison hidden in his teeth. Seeing that Captain Hao had been subdued by Zhou Hao, the policemen from the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang City also became restless. However, there were Ma Yuyuan's soldiers around, so they did not dare to act rashly. However, Zhou Hao felt that there was a sharp gaze from the dozen or so police officers looking at him. Zhou Hao felt a chill in his heart. He guessed that the person might be Captain Hao's accomplice. However, Zhou Hao did not intend to capture that person here. Since Captain Hao was already under his control, that man definitely wouldn't stand idly by. Zhou Hao wanted to use that man to pull out all the powers behind him. At this time, Ma Yuyuan was also helped up by the soldiers, although he was also an elite in the army. However, Captain Hao's kick just now was very unexpected and the force was very strong. Immediately, Ma Yuyuan's ankle was injured. "Commander Ma, are you all right?" Zhou Hao asked. Ma Yuyuan shook his head and looked at Captain Hao, who had fallen to the ground and could not get up. He said, "This guy has amazing skills. Even the armed police should not be able to train such a person. He is not just a police officer." Zhou Hao sneered and said, "If you catch this guy, Battalion Commander Ma, you might have made a great contribution." Zhou Hao now suspected that Captain Hao was a ninja because his skills and moves were very similar to the ninja he met last time. A ninja was hiding in the Public Security Bureau, and no one knew what kind of conspiracy he was plotting. Nanami Keiru's previous plans against Zhao Rixin and Hong Kong were closely linked, making it hard to guard against them. If not for Zhou Hao's interference, her plan would have succeeded. Was this Captain Hao also arranged by her? Could it be that she was plotting something else? In Zhou Hao's heart, Nanami Keiru's charming face appeared. Subconsciously, Zhou Hao did not want this matter to be related to Nanami Keiru. However, Zhou Hao thought in his heart, if this matter really had something to do with her, what could he do? When he found out that Nanami Keiru was Hai Qixuan, Zhou Hao could no longer kill her. He shook his head and thought to himself, no matter if this matter was related to her or not, I just need to destroy it. Then, he said to Ma Yuyuan, "Battalion Commander Ma, send this guy to the military with me later." Ma Yuyuan's heart trembled when he heard that. Going to the military meant that he might see Zhao Dingzhou. It was a great honor for a mere battalion commander like him to be able to show his face in front of a general like Zhao Dingzhou. Judging from the current situation, there was obviously something wrong with Captain Hao. If the situation was true, then he would have made a great contribution. Furthermore, Zhou Hao wanted him to accompany him to the military district. Obviously, he wanted to give him a portion of the credit. He looked at Kai Shuer, who had been knocked out by Zhou Hao with an urn, and asked, "Mr. Zhou, what about this person? What should we do with him?" "Send him to the Public Security Bureau of Xiang City. Ask those people from the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County to go back and let Xiangdong, Yang County, report this matter. I'll leave the rest to the government," Zhou Hao said. After discovering that Captain Hao had a problem, Kai Shuer seemed less important. As for the police in Dongyang County, Zhou Hao did not want to pursue them. Zhou Hao had intended to let go of Captain Hao's accomplice, who was hiding inside, so that he could inform the organization behind him and let Zhou Hao wait for him. Therefore, the soldiers dispersed and let the police of Dongyang County leave. The soldiers also went downstairs under Ma Yuyuan's order. Kai Shuer was also taken downstairs, leaving Ma Yuyuan in the living room on the 3rd floor. Captain Hao, who had his acupuncture point pointed at by Zhou Hao, was still lying on the ground. His eyes were staring at Zhou Hao viciously. "I told you to keep an eye on him." Zhou Hao cursed angrily and kicked Captain Hao, knocking him out. It was at this moment that Zhou Hao asked Yin Qingqing to come out of the room. Yin Qingqing had changed into a clean set of clothes. After coming out, she said to Zhou Hao worriedly, "Xiao Hao, what happened just now? I heard a lot of noise outside." Zhou Hao smiled. "Cousin, don't worry. Everything is fine now." Yin Mudong and Yin Munin called Ma Yuyuan to sit down. "Commander Ma, thank you very much." "What are you talking about? My 2 brothers always take good care of our base. Since you've been bullied, of course I'm here to help," Ma Yuyuan said with a smile. After Yin Mudong and Yin Munin got married, he also took good care of Ma Yuyuan and the other soldiers in the military camp. From time to time, he would send some meat and fruits to them, as well as some extra food. "Uncle, I don't think I can stay here tonight. Later, I will go with Battalion Commander Ma to the military area," Zhou Hao said to Yin Mudong, Yin Munin. "It's okay. Business is more important," Yin Munin said hastily. However, his grandfather and grandmother were very reluctant to part with Zhou Hao. After all, Zhou Hao didn't come back often, and the two elders were very concerned about him. As for Yin Qingqing, she would stay here for the night and return to Xiang City the next day. After lunch, Zhou Hao sat in Ma Yuyuan's military vehicle and brought the unconscious Captain Hao to Guangzhou. Ma Yuyuan also sent people to Senkai Shuehe, Wei Tonghai, and a few arsonists to the Xiang City's Public Security Bureau. Zhou Hao had already told Situli about it. When they arrived at the military district without stopping, Zhao Dingzhou was already waiting for Zhou Hao and the others. On the phone, Zhao Dingzhou was also very nervous when he heard Zhou Hao say that there was a hidden ninja in the Public Security Bureau. On the way to the military district, he called the person in charge of the National Security Bureau's Guangdong branch over to Tao Jie. Xiao Hao, this is the director of the National Security Bureau's Guangdong province branch. Zhao Dingzhou introduced him to Zhou Hao. Xiao Taojie was a tall man in his early 40s. He had a square face and a pair of straight eyebrows. He was very handsome. "Hello, director." Zhou Hao nodded at him. Ma Yuyuan stood in front of Zhao Dingzhou and saluted him. He shouted, "Hello, director." Ma Yuyuan, 19th Battalion of Huayu Village Military Base, reporting in. "You must be Ma Yuyuan." Zhao Dingzhou smiled. "Chief, I am Ma Yuyuan." Ma Yuyuan straightened his spine and looked straight ahead. Even the tip of his nose was sweating. After all, Zhao Dingzhou was much higher level than him. Moreover, the military might on Zhao Dingzhou's body was also very intimidating. He looked at the unconscious Captain Hao and frowned. "This is the ninja that you mentioned, Xiao Hao?" Zhou Hao nodded. "I fought with those Japanese ninja in Hong Kong. This man's skills are the same as those Japanese ninja, so I think that even if he is not ninja, it has something to do with them. Take him in first. Let's interrogate him properly," Zhao Dingzhou said. Immediately, a few soldiers took Captain Hao from Ma Yuyuan and walked into a building. Zhao Dingzhou said to Zhou Hao, "You guys come in as well. After all, you are the ones who captured him." After saying that, he walked into the building with Tao Jie. Due to Ma Yuyuan's overly excited mood, he hadn't regained his senses even after Zhao Dingzhou and Chao Taojie had left more than 10 meters away. Zhou Hao gently touched him, and he reacted. He quickly followed Zhou Hao. This building was 8 stories tall. It should be one of the office buildings in the military. There were many rooms inside, but the doors were closed, so no one could see what was inside. Captain Hao was brought to an interrogation room. A few soldiers were about to lock him in a chair in the interrogation room. Zhou Hao said, "Wait, check his teeth first. The ninja I met earlier hid poison in his teeth. It was used to kill himself." Zhao Dingzhou nodded. A soldier opened Captain Hao's mouth and found a small capsule in one of his molar teeth. Zhao Dingzhou carefully took out the capsule and had someone send it to the lab for inspection. But now, they almost believed that Captain Hao is ninja. After Captain Hao was locked on the chair, the soldiers poured cold water on him and woke him up. He suddenly opened his eyes and saw Zhou Hao, Zhao Dingzhou, Xiang Taojie, and Ma Yuyuan in front of him. At the same time, he found that other than moving his neck and neck, he could not move other parts of his body. Obviously, Zhou Hao had not unlocked his acupuncture points. However, as long as he could move his upper and lower jawbone, it would be fine. Captain Hao thought in his heart, and the corner of his mouth revealed a cold smile. Then, he fiercely bit down, wanting to bite through the small capsule hidden in his teeth and commit suicide. But in the next moment, his expression changed, and Zhou Hao also let out a cold laugh. "Want to commit suicide? We have already taken out your poison capsule." Captain Hao's expression changed again, but he quickly calmed down, and his eyes rolled. He shouted angrily at Zhou Hao and the others. "You are illegally imprisoning the people's police. Do you still have the law? Let me go. You are still stubborn even in the face of death." Zhou Hao coldly snorted. "You must be ninja sent by Japan." "What ninja? I don't know what nonsense you are spouting. I don't know what ninja is talking about." Captain Hao denied it. Zhou Hao walked over and pulled his police uniform away, because he thought that this ninja might be pretending to be the real Captain Hao. Just like the ninja who was followed by Zhou Hao in Hong Kong, he wore a well-made mask. However, after pulling open his clothes, Zhou Hao did not find any abnormalities in his skin color. He searched for a while but still did not find any traces of the mask. "Huh, no mask?" Zhou Hao rubbed Captain Hao's face, trying to make sure he was wearing a mask. However, Captain Hao's face was red and swollen, and he did not find any clues. Captain Hao did not care about the pain. Instead, he stared at Zhou Hao coldly. "What mask? Not a mask? You have found the wrong person. Quickly put me back." At this moment, a man knocked on the door and came in. He handed a stack of documents to Chao Taojie. Chao Taojie read the documents and read out the important information. Hao Tai Lang, unmarried, born in September 1965, graduated from Guangdong Province's Judicial Police School. In 1987, he became a police officer in Shihua Town of Dongyang County. In 1992, he was transferred to the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County as a police officer. In 1995, he was promoted to the captain of the Criminal Police Brigade. He looked at Zhou Hao and said, "This is his information in the Public Security Department." So this was the personal information of Captain Hao. The people from the National Security Bureau had extracted it so quickly. Zhou Hao took the document and read it in detail. He then compared it with the photo on the document and Hao Tailong's appearance. Zhou Hao felt puzzled. If this person was not an imposter, why would he hide for so long? According to this document, Hao Tailong had spent more than 30 years hiding in China. Zhou Hao looked up at Tao Jie and asked, "Director Chow, is there any possibility that this information is fake?" Unless he has an insider in the higher-ups of the Public Security Department. But the possibility is not high, he said to Tao Jie. Hao Tailong looked at Zhao Dingzhou and Tao Jie. When he saw Zhao Dingzhou's military uniform, he knew that Zhao Dingzhou was at least a general. And for Tao Jie to be able to find his information so quickly, it was also very powerful. He suppressed the uneasiness in his heart. With a cold smile on his face, he said, "I know that your official position must be very high, but even so, I still have human rights. You can't put me under house arrest like this." Zhou Hao, Zhao Dingzhou, and Tao Jie looked at each other, but didn't say anything. They just quietly walked out of the interrogation room. Ma Yuyuan knew that his identity was too different from the others. He didn't interrupt them from the beginning until the end, so he also followed them out. "Hey, what do you want? Let me go." Seeing Zhou Hao and the others walk out, Hao Tailong sighed in his heart, but on the surface, he pretended to be angry. After coming out, Zhao Dingzhou asked Tao Jie, "Director Chow, what do you think of this person?" Tao Jie said with a serious expression. "Although this person won't admit it, his file in the Public Security Department is also true. But I feel that there must be something wrong with this person. Moreover, there really is a poison sac in his mouth. When he woke up just now and discovered that he was captured, he clearly wanted to bite open the poison sac and commit suicide." Zhao Dingzhou nodded. "Why don't we ask his relatives and friends?" "I'm afraid not. According to his file, his parents died a long time ago, and now they live in the dormitory of the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County." He said to Tao Jie, "I think I should send someone to his dormitory and his birthplace to investigate. We should be able to find some clues." Zhao Dingzhou said, "Won't this alert the enemy?" Zhou Hao said, "Actually, I caught Hao Tailong to use him as bait to lure the people behind him out, because I found out that his accomplices were in the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County. Director, send someone to Hao Tailong's dormitory to investigate. Don't hide it too well. It would be best if his accomplices discover it, so that he can lure his accomplices over." After hearing Zhou Hao's words, he looked at Tao Jie and Zhao Dingzhou for a moment, then smiled at Tao Jie. "General Zhao, you really did not say anything wrong. Xiao Hao is indeed a young hero. All right, I will do as he says." After discussing the plan, Zhao Dingzhou and Tao Jie went to make the arrangements. At this time, Situ Li from Xiang City also called. Xiao Hao, Wei Tonghai and the others have already confessed. All of them are willing to testify against that Kai Shuahe. It shouldn't be a problem to convict him. However, the county head of Dongyang County, Kai Dishi, also called me. He told me to give him face and let Kai Shuahe go. This was not out of Zhou Hao's expectation. He had long known that the old man from Dongyang County would definitely come out after capturing the young man. Now, his guess was right. He heard Situ Li say, "Xiao Hao, this Kai Dishi has some power. If someone offends him in the provincial political meeting, I'm afraid they will not be able to get anything out of him." He had also said that he would not let Kai Shuahe interfere in the matters of Huayu Village anymore. He was also willing to pay for all the losses incurred in Huayu Village. Also, those policemen from the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County have also been punished. "Humph, he wants me to let Kai Shuahe go just like that?" Zhou Hao sneered. "Uncle Situ, since you can convict that Kai Shuahe, you should detain him first. I suspect that there are other matters involving him, so I can't let him go for the time being. If that county magistrate of Dongyang County dares to say anything, just say that the National Security Bureau has already intervened." His tone changed. "Uncle Situ, you have become the candidate for mayor of Xiang City. You must establish a positive image that doesn't fear power. Otherwise, it will not be good for you." Hearing Zhou Hao's words, Situ Li's heart shivered. That's right, that Kai Dishi only had people in the provincial government. However, on Zhou Hao's side, Zhao Dingzhou was originally the commander of the Guangzhou military region. Even if he was the chairman of the provincial political meeting, there was no need to be afraid. Furthermore, there was also Zhao Rixin on top. Comparing the two of them, Kai Dashi's power was nothing. So Situ immediately went up and said, "Yes. All right, I know what to do. That's right, Xiao Hao. I heard from Jianing that you will bring her to Hong Kong in a few days. Hee hee, that girl has a wild temper. Xiao Hao, you have to keep an eye on her for me." "Understood, Uncle Situ. I will," Zhou Hao said with a smile. Situ Li had a deep understanding of his abilities now. The attitude he used to have when he looked down on him had changed 180 degrees. Initially, he did not want Situ Jianing to interact with him, but now he wanted Situ Jianing to be closer to him. The people from the National Security Bureau soon arrived at the dormitory of the Public Security Bureau in Dongyang County. The dormitory was in a courtyard near the Public Security Bureau, where many unmarried policemen lived. When his subordinates arrived, they informed the Public Security Bureau of the county of Dongyang that they were going to search Hao Tailang's dormitory. Originally, they could sneak into Hao Tailang's dormitory without alerting anyone. But before they came, they told Tao Jie to make their actions more obvious. The people from the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County dared not to stop the people from the National Security Bureau. Even the director was respectful to them. Therefore, they went to Hao Tailang's dormitory and started to search it thoroughly. However, even after they searched Hao Tailang's dormitory, the people from the National Security Bureau still did not find any clues. On the other side of Hao Tailang's dormitory, a young man was standing in front of the window with a telescope in his hand. He was looking at the members of the National Security Bureau who were searching Hao Tailang's dormitory. He was holding a phone in his other hand. He looked down with a telescope and said to the phone, "Hao Tailang has been arrested. The people from the National Security Bureau are currently searching his dormitory. There are no clues in Hao Tailang's dorm. We have already looked for him before." The person on the other side of the phone said, "But Hao Tailang and the others, ninja, are very stubborn. Once they are caught, they will immediately commit suicide." The people from the National Security Bureau caught him, but they didn't know if he had committed suicide or not. "Oh right, the person who caught Hao Tailang. Did you see it clearly?" The man said, "I saw it clearly. I was at the scene at that time. That person was very young, but his martial arts was unfathomable. Hao Tailang was subdued by him before he could even make a move." He paused for a moment before continuing. "I don't think I'm a match for that person. Is that person also from the National Security Bureau?" The person on the other side of the phone asked. "I don't know. But even if he isn't, he must be related to the National Security Bureau." The man said, "I also don't know how he found out there's something wrong with Hao Tailang. It's just their first meeting. If I hadn't been working in Dongyang County, I wouldn't have found Hao Tailang." The man on the other side of the phone was silent for a while. Then he said, "Hao Tailang must not die. He has already gotten the clue about that thing. We can't let this lead to a dead end. I think ninja from their Wind Devil clan will save him. In my opinion, we should take advantage of the fact that Wind Devil Clan Ninja is fighting with the people of the National Security Bureau and wait for an opportunity to snatch Hao Tailang back." The man on the other side had a worried expression. "But the people of the National Security Bureau will definitely keep a close watch on Hao Tailang. It will be very difficult for us to rescue Hao Tailang from their hands. The National Security Bureau won't dare to use heavy weapons in the city. As long as there are no heavy weapons, we don't have to be afraid." The person on the other side of the phone said, "What I'm most worried about is the person who caught Hao Tailang. Although Hao Tailang's strength is not very high in the Wind Devil clan, but he can still fight against our 3rd or 4th generation disciples. If he really can't even withstand a single strike from that person, then he'll be defeated. I'm afraid that person will be very difficult to deal with. I think that person will need an elder to personally take action to subdue him." The man on the other side said, "But what I'm most afraid of is that there's some terrifying power hidden behind him. If there's a sect behind him that can teach people like him, then the sect's strength will be very strong." The person on the phone said, "It's useless to guess now. We'll find out tonight. This is a military camp on the outskirts of Guangzhou, hundreds of acres used as a training ground for soldiers." At this time, the night sky was thick, and a few dark clouds moved along with the night wind in front of the moon, blocking out the moonlight. The ground immediately sank into darkness. Outside the military camp, 2 soldiers were walking side by side, patrolling on duty. Rustle, rustle, rustle. One of the soldiers looked towards the left side of the lychee forest and saw that it was deep and dark inside. It was as sinister and terrifying as a ghost. "What's wrong?" another soldier asked. "I think I heard something over there." The soldier pointed at Lychee and said. The automatic rifle in his hand also aimed over there. The other soldier pushed him and said, "Don't be so paranoid. It's just the wind blowing the leaves. Let's go." The soldier gave Lychee a deep look. He put down the gun in his hand and continued to walk forward with his comrades. The two of them didn't walk far away. The place they were standing just now was like a rippling water surface, unexpectedly producing circles of ripples. Then, two black shadows that were like footballs slowly surfaced from the ground. It was actually two heads. After the two heads surfaced from the ground, it was their upper bodies, then their legs. Finally, their entire bodies floated up from the ground. The clothes on these two people were all dark purple, and only a pair of eyes could be seen from their bodies. Even their hands were wearing dark purple gloves. And on his forehead, there was also a piece of metal with a jade pattern carved on it. Behind them, there were two Japanese knives on their backs. Not only here, but also from other places outside the military camp. These strange figures emerged from the ground one after another. These people were obviously ninja as well. The two ninja looked forward, but they did not move. They suddenly jumped up. He crossed the wall and the power grid in front of him and landed lightly on the ground of the military camp without making any sound. Under the heavy night sky, one could vaguely see soldiers patrolling in the military camp. The two ninja looked at each other and their bodies slowly sank down, finally disappearing from the ground. When the moonlight shone down from the dark clouds, there were no figures like ghosts, as if they had never appeared before. In a 3-story building in the center of the military camp, 6 soldiers were patrolling back and forth. There were soldiers in every corridor on each floor. It was obvious that there were some very important people in this building. Suddenly, a 6-man team on the first floor that was patrolling to the east side of the corridor all fainted at the same time. Then, a whirlwind suddenly appeared in the corridor, and 2 dark purple figures appeared in the corridor without any warning, standing in front of the 6 unconscious soldiers. It was as if the whirlwind had turned into something. It was Ninja, who had snuck in from the outside. The two of them looked at each other and nodded. Then, they quickly ran towards the stairs. They were extremely fast and did not make any sound as they moved. There were 2 armed soldiers guarding the stairs. 6 soldiers fainted on the ground, but they did not know anything. Behind the 2 soldiers, there was a hand wearing a deep purple glove, slowly reaching out and getting closer to the 2 soldiers bit by bit. Gah! The 2 hands grabbed the soldiers' necks and broke their necks before they could make a sound. The soldiers who had lost their lives leaned forward and were about to fall, but they saw another hand reach out from under their armpits and grab their chests. They carefully placed them on the ground and did not make any movements. The 2 ninja quickly went up the stairs, but just as they reached the 2nd floor, before they could hide, a man in a suit appeared at the exit of the 2nd floor. He snorted coldly. "The fact that you can come up here means that the people below have been sacrificed?" Finish talking. He reached into his pocket and took out a small remote control and pressed the button on it. At that moment, the entire military camp was filled with alarm, and the high-intensity light beams were also constantly moving outside. This man was the person the National Security Bureau had arranged for him to be here. He was also a martial arts expert. If it wasn't for the fact that his alertness far exceeded that of ordinary people when he practiced martial arts, he wouldn't have been able to discover these 2 ghost-like fellows. When the 2 masked ninja heard the alarm outside, his expression changed. One of them pulled out the Japanese knife from his back, and without saying a word, he pointed it at the expert from the National Security Bureau. The other person flipped his right hand, and 3 spiral-shaped darts appeared in his hand. With a flick of his wrist, the 3 darts turned into 3 silver lights and flew towards the expert from the National Security Bureau. The expert from the National Security Bureau dodged to the side and dodged the 3 darts. However, the darts flew past and stabbed deeply into the wall behind him. It could be seen that the darts were sharp. Just as the expert from the National Security Bureau dodged the darts to the side, Ninja, who was holding the Japanese knife, had already rushed in front of him. The Japanese knife also slashed at him like lightning. Huh! With a cold shout, the expert suddenly raised both of his hands in front of his chest and used force to clamp down on the saber-wielding sword. Just like that, he caught the saber-wielding sword. At the same time, his feet were like a scorpion's tail as he attacked the ninja in front of him. In an instant, he kicked the ninja's lower abdomen. Ninja didn't let out any screams. He looked at him and narrowed his eyes. When he saw the people from the National Security Bureau clamping his knife, he immediately let go without any hesitation. At the same time, he took 2 steps back and lightly waved his hands at the people from the National Security Bureau. The people from the National Security Bureau only smelled a strange fragrance and immediately covered their mouths and noses. At the same time, They moved the genuine aura in their bodies because they knew that the fragrance must be poisonous. Although he had only inhaled a little, and was also suppressed by the genuine aura, he still felt a little dizzy. The scene in front of him was also a little blurry. At this moment, he saw that the two ninjas' figures in front of him had blurred for a moment. Then, they suddenly split into two clones. The two of them turned into 4 people. Then, they split into 8 people. Could this be the clone technique of the ninja of Japan? He muttered to himself. He saw the 8 ninja holding all kinds of weapons lunging at him. In fact, they were extremely fierce, like a pack of wolves pouncing on their prey. He hurriedly used his movement technique, and at the same time, he took out the gun on his waist, aiming it at the ninja in front of him. When he took out the gun, Ninja immediately used his hand to block in front of him, and the bullet hit his arm. With a clang, he was not injured at all. Clearly, he was wearing a steel plate on his arm. At the same time, the long knife, dart, and the sword in his hand were all aimed at the people of the National Security Bureau. Just as he dodged a sword in his hand, his back was cut by a long Japanese blade. What? It seems like every one of them is real. He thought as he dodged, D***M in it. So this isn't a cloning technique. There really are 8 people here. However, he felt that it was a little too late. Ninja, who was wearing a steel claw, seized the opportunity when he dodged the other weapons and grabbed his neck. The steel claw in his hand forcefully cut open his neck. At the same time, 2 Japanese knives were also deeply inserted into his chest and back. This person from the National Security Bureau was indeed very skilled in martial arts. However, these ninja were not easy to deal with. Their attacks were well coordinated, and it was very difficult for a single horse to deal with them. In less than a minute, the expert from the National Security Bureau had died at their hands. When they killed the person from the National Security Bureau, one of them, Ninja, heard the ear-piercing alarm outside and said, "The companions outside are restraining them. We need to find Hao Tarung as soon as possible, or else it will be very difficult to escape." What Ninja said was pure Mandarin. When the rest of the people heard his words, they also nodded. One of them took out a palm-sized game console that looked like it was very popular nowadays. However, the screen was like a radar. There were a few circles and coordinates. A blue dot was flashing on the screen. The man looked at the blue on the screen, pointed to the left and said, "Kataru is over there." At this time, another 8 ninja, who were dressed the same way, appeared outside the window of the corridor on the 2nd floor. Clearly, they had come down from the 3rd floor along a rope. They broke through the window and met up with the ninja on the 2nd floor. One of them said, "Hao Tarung is on the 2nd floor. Let's go and find him. The people outside won't be able to hold on much longer." Therefore, the 16 ninja followed the instructions of the instrument and quickly ran to a room in the middle of the 2nd floor. Compared to the heavily guarded building, there was not a single soldier or person from the National Security Bureau around the room. However, Ninja could not care about that much. Their most important task was to take Hao Tarung away from here. When they came to the front of the room, one of Ninja took out a few needle-like tools and nimbly flipped them up and down. In less than 10 seconds, the door lock was opened. When he pushed the door open and entered, he saw that the room was spacious, but it was empty without any decorations. There was only a chair in the middle of the room, and the person who was tied to the chair. The person's hands and feet were tied to the chair, and his face was covered by a black hood. Why is there no one guarding here? Is it a trap? One of them, Ninja said. We can't rule out that it's a trap, but Hayatarang has a transmitter in his body. The other ninja lowered his head and looked at the instrument in his hand. Beep, beep, beep. The instrument made a rhythmic sound. Ninja said, "This is Hao Tarung. Let's get him out of here." Immediately, 2 ninja went up. One quickly unlocked the iron chains on Hao Tarung's hands and feet, and the other removed the hood on Hao Tarung's head. However, when they saw the person tied to the chair, all the ninja in the room were stunned. Actually, your guess was right. This is indeed a trap. The man on the chair was Zhou Hao. He looked at Ninja in the room with a cold smile on his face. How could it be? It's a signal from the transmitter. Ninja, who was holding the instrument, looked at the instrument in his hand in disbelief. The blue dot on the instrument screen was still flashing, showing that the target was Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao smiled coldly and opened his right hand. He saw a tooth in his palm, and there was a bit of black in the tooth. It seemed to be a corner of some kind of precise instrument. Zhou Hao said, "Luckily we checked Hao Tiling in advance. You guys are really good. You actually put a transmitter in the tooth. Humph. You are courting death." As they were talking, Ninja, who was standing in front of Zhou Hao, suddenly stretched out a sharp sword from the back of his hand and fiercely stabbed towards Zhou Hao's neck. Zhou Hao flicked his finger and snapped the sharp sword that was aimed at him. At the same time, he stretched out his left leg and kicked Ninja in the lower part of his body. Zhou Hao raised his eyebrows. He thought that his kick would definitely kick Ninja into a yin-yang man. However, when his foot touched Ninja's crotch, he discovered that Ninja was wearing a steel protective gear. Even so, Ninja was kicked off the ground by Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao was moving, and so were the other ninja in the room. Without any hesitation, they all threw themselves at Zhou Hao, who was sitting in the middle. His momentum was even more ferocious than when he killed the expert from the National Security Bureau. Zhou Hao's eyes focused. He suddenly pointed out the middle and middle fingers of his right hand, aiming at the forehead of Ninja who was in front of him. If this attack hit, Ninja's head would definitely be sucked into Zhou Hao's genuine aura, turning his head into a paste. However, just as Zhou Hao was about to attack, Ninja's body immediately turned in the air, avoiding Zhou Hao's deadly attack. What a fast reaction! Zhou Hao's heart shivered. These ninjas' reactions were as sharp as Hao Tailang's. The fact that these ninja could break through the layers of defense of the military camp and come to this room was enough to show their strength. After this exchange, Zhou Hao knew in his heart that these people were much stronger than the ninja he had encountered in Hong Kong. Ninja avoided Zhou Hao's attack, and a hint of mockery flashed across his eyes, which was exactly what Zhou Hao saw. "Do you think you can escape?" Zhou Hao snorted. His right hand immediately turned into a tiger claw and sank down, hitting Ninja in the face before he could dodge. The heavy force hit him to the ground. Even his eyeballs were blown up by Zhou Hao's attack. At this moment, the other ninja also lunged at Zhou Hao, attempting to kill him with a single strike. However, no matter how fast they moved, they couldn't be faster than bullets. Therefore, Zhou Hao moved his body and left the center of the room, which was also out of their attack range. He grabbed the ankle of one of the flying ninja. He used it as a weapon and swept across, sweeping over a dozen of ninja. After these ninja landed on the ground, they immediately rolled away from Zhou Hao's attack range. A few of them even stuck their fingers into the wall of the room to stabilize themselves. Ninja, who was used by Zhou Hao as a weapon, felt dizzy from the impact. Zhou Hao did not say much and grabbed his neck. He looked at the ninja around him and said coldly, "You should be that Hao Tailang. I heard you guys say that his name should be Hao Tailang." "That's right. That Hao Taro is also your accomplice, right? It seems like you have been hiding in our country for many years, humph? You speak fluently in Mandarin, and you even have a local accent? It should be known that it might not be difficult for foreigner to learn Mandarin, but to learn all kinds of local accent in China, it would take many years. It could be seen how long these people had been hiding in China. Tell me, what is Hayataro's purpose in hiding in the Public Security Bureau? What is your purpose in hiding in China for so many years?" Zhou Hao said coldly. He knew that these ninja were hiding in China, and what he was doing should be a spy's operation. Now that he could catch them, he could also eliminate a huge threat for the country. A ninja, who was close to the wall, said to the others in Japanese, "We need to get rid of this person as soon as possible. If we delay any longer, it will be very difficult for us to escape." "What about Hayataro? Even the transmitter in his teeth has been discovered. He should still be in these people's hands." Another ninja asked in Japanese. "We can't care so much. Kotaro has been trained, so he shouldn't be afraid of torture and interrogation. Let's leave this place first and find another opportunity in the future." Ninja, who was on the wall, said with a fierce look in his eyes, "Even if we kill him, we can't let him reveal the clues of that thing to the Chinaman." Zhou Hao heard them talking non-stop, but unfortunately, he could not understand Japanese, so he shouted, "What are you talking about? Tell me what your purpose is, or I will kill this man." His hand on Ninja's neck tightened a little. However, the surrounding ninja did not change his expression. The ninja on the wall sneered, "Just kill him. Every one of us has the resolve to sacrifice for the mission. This is our glory." At this moment, the ninja who was pinched by Zhou Hao's neck suddenly hugged Zhou Hao's body. At the same time, he shouted to the surrounding ninja in Japanese, "Run! I will hold him back." The expression in Ninja's eyes on the wall finally changed. At the same time, he said in Japanese, 43, "We will put your memorial tablet in the family's memorial hall." "Thank you, let's go." Ninja, who was hugging Zhou Hao, shouted loudly. Although Zhou Hao did not understand what they were saying, he felt a sense of danger in his heart. He immediately grabbed Ninja's shoulders and crushed both of his shoulder blades with force. Ninja only grunted, but he still held Zhou Hao tightly with both of his hands. The surrounding ninja also left the room in a flash. Originally, Zhou Hao could stop them from leaving, but he felt that Ninja, who was hugging him, was in great danger. If he wanted to get rid of this entanglement immediately, he wouldn't have the time to care about the other fleeing ninja. **M**. Zhou saw that Ninja didn't let go of him even though his shoulder blade had been crushed. He was surprised by Ninja's perseverance, but at the same time, he cursed. The hand that grabbed him by his waist broke open with force. Zhou used his strength to break the rock. Therefore, even though Ninja had used his greatest potential, both of his hands were still broken by Zhou. Without thinking, Zhou kicked Ninja away and kicked him out of the room. He immediately laid down on the ground and circulated the genuine aura to protect his body. Boom! The entire building shook violently. Zhou also felt a scorching heat wave surging in from outside the door. Rocks and dust fell from the sky flower. When Zhou stood up, he saw that the outside of the room was a mess of fire. The walls were all blackened, and the windows in the corridor were all shattered. As for Ninja, apart from a few pieces of dark purple cloth on the ground, there was no trace of him. Zhou was still scared. He did not expect Ninja to have such a powerful bomb on him. If he did not kick Ninja away just now and let Ninja hug him, he would have exploded. Even if Zhou was invulnerable, he wouldn't be able to escape. Even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. Also, when he heard Ninja say that everyone was ready to sacrifice themselves, he guessed that every one of them had such a bomb on them. If they could not deal with the enemy, they would detonate the bomb and perish together with the enemy. Suddenly, he saw a piece of metal on the ground. There was a picture of a Japanese jade hook on it, but it was the symbol that Ninja had worn on his head. Zhou let out a long sigh. These ninja were too dangerous, and they were hidden deep within the country. If he hadn't thought of this at the last moment, he wouldn't have found Hao Tairong. Thinking about the bombs on their bodies, Zhou was very worried. If they launched suicide attacks on the people in the country like the terrorists in his previous life, the threat would be too great. We must not let them escape, Zhou said in his heart and immediately left the room. As soon as he took a few steps, he saw soldiers running towards him. Mr. Zhou, are you all right? The colonel in the lead saw Zhou's slightly blackened face and immediately asked. Zhou shook his head. No. How's the situation outside? The colonel said, just now, Commissioner Li Jinmei from the National Security Bureau sent us a signal. We were just about to move when the command center was attacked. There were more than 10 ninja. We spent a lot of effort to kill 4 of them, but the others ran away. Just as we chased after them, we heard an explosion. The chief was worried about your safety, so he asked us to come and take a look. Zhou immediately asked when he heard that Ninja had also attacked the headquarters. Is Mr. Zhao and Director Chao all right? Did Ninja detonate the bomb on your side? No. Luckily, we killed them before they detonated the bomb. The colonel also had lingering fears. However, we just found the body of Commissioner Li Jinmei of the National Security Bureau. He died under Ninja's hands. Zhou said seriously, these ninja are really fierce. In order to complete the mission, they can sacrifice themselves without hesitation. They are even more powerful than those fanatical religious believers. He looked up at the colonel. By the way, where is Hao Tailang? The colonel replied, he's still imprisoned in the dungeon. We, in the National Security Bureau, are guarding it. As soon as he finished speaking, an anxious voice came from the communication device in his hand. This is the dungeon. This is the dungeon. Hao Tailang was rescued. I repeat, Hao Tailang was rescued. What? Zhou and the colonel's expressions also changed greatly when they heard this. Zhao Dingzhou and Chao Taojia had planned to hide Hao Tailang in a dungeon in the military camp, and then Zhou would use Hao Tailang's transmitter to attract the ninja and capture them. However, they never thought that these ninja would come with the determination to die. They used the bomb to delay Zhou and let the others leave. Now, even Hao Tailang had been rescued. The colonel also anxiously shouted into the walkie-talkie, how are the casualties in the dungeon? The soldiers guarding the dungeon and the members of the National Security Bureau all fainted, but their lives are not in danger, the man on the other side of the walkie-talkie said. After hearing the explosion just now, the bureau chief asked us to go to the dungeon to take a look. But by the time we arrived, they were already unconscious on the ground, and the prisoners who were locked up were nowhere to be seen. Hurry up and send someone to find them. The prisoners shouldn't be too far away, the colonel said. Yes. The other party replied and immediately went to carry out the mission. Zhou, the colonel, and the soldiers quickly left the building. When they arrived at the field, they saw an army green truck in the parking lot light up. After that, it started rumbling and drove towards the main gate. The soldiers on the sports field were also shocked by the truck and hurriedly avoided it to avoid being hit. The colonel next to Zhou immediately reacted. It must be those people who saved Hao Tyrant. Quick, go and chase. Immediately, soldiers got into the other military vehicles in the parking lot, but none of them could start moving. Sir, the circuit system of the vehicles has been destroyed. It can't be started. All the military vehicles in the parking lot could not start, so they could not catch up to the truck. D***M in it. The colonel cursed. Zhou Hao was also secretly surprised. These ninja were too powerful. He destroyed all the military vehicles without anyone noticing, making it difficult for them to catch up. These ninjas' movements were secretive and his skills were high. Every one of them still had the determination to die. He was much stronger than the secret agents of the other countries. At this moment, Zhao Dingzhou's voice came from the colonel's walkie-talkie. Use a helicopter. Use a helicopter to chase after him. You must get Hao Tailang back for me. Yes, Chief. The colonel responded. Zhou Hao had a feeling that Hao Tailang was not in the truck that had driven out of the camp. The truck was obviously a decoy. He turned his head to look at the dense lychee forest beside the military camp and said to the colonel, Colonel, send a group of people to search that forest of lychee trees. I suspect that the truck just now was trying to lure us away. The colonel was also shocked when he heard that. That's also possible. Therefore, he sent two groups of people. One group drove a helicopter to chase that truck, and the other group went to the lychee forest next to the military camp to search. Zhou Hao was worried that these ordinary soldiers would not be a match for ninja, so he followed them. Although the moon was bright in the sky, because the lychee forest was very dense, even the day was unusually dark, and there was no light at night. The soldiers all turned on their torchlights, and rays of light swayed in the lychee forest. Zhou Hao's eyesight was extraordinary. Even if he didn't have a torchlight, he didn't have any obstacles. Instead, he felt that the light from these torchlights would disturb those people. Because of the dense lychee forest, the soldiers were moving at a slower pace. Zhou Hao felt that the people who rescued Hao Tailang were moving very quickly. He immediately spread out his body and left the soldiers behind to chase after them. His figure was jumping around on the lychee trees like a ghost. Lychee forest not too big. Zhou Hao passed through it very quickly. When he jumped onto a lychee tree in the outer perimeter, he saw three figures with extremely fast movements walking out of the lychee forest. One of them was carrying an unconscious person on his shoulder. It was Hao Tailang. However, Zhou Hao found that these three people were dressed differently from the previous ninja. Although they also wore hoods that only revealed their eyes, their clothes were pure black. There was only one knife on their back. Zhou Hao's gaze was sharp, and he immediately discovered that although the sabers on the backs of these three people were similar to the Japanese sabers, they did not seem like pure Japanese sabers. The hilt and scabbard both had an ancient aura. There were even gold and jade embedded on them, giving off a gorgeous feeling. Outside the lychee forest, there was an off-road vehicle parked there. As soon as those three people came out, the door of the off-road vehicle immediately opened. Obviously, it was to receive them. Zhou Hao, who was hiding in the tree, thought to himself, that truck just now really did attract our attention. Taking advantage of the time when the few of them got into the car, Zhou Hao flew out of the lychee tree like an owl and drilled into the bottom of the off-road vehicle. His movements were several times faster than the previous three people. The people in the car couldn't notice him at all. After the off-road vehicle was started, it immediately drove forward. It was not in the direction of the Guangzhou city, but directly left the Guangzhou and headed west. Zhou Hao hid at the bottom of the vehicle. After 3 to 4 hours, the off-road vehicle finally stopped. He took a slight look and found that this was an unknown village. There were some mountain ridges around it that were not too high. There were also many bananas and fish ponds. The off-road vehicle was located in a yard. In the yard, there was also a 4-story building that looked very ordinary. However, 5 or 6 people walked out of the building. Zhou Hao saw that they were walking with light steps and shaking their arms. They were obviously martial artists, especially the old man who was in his 60s. Although they looked like ordinary old men, Zhou Hao could see his slightly narrowed eyes flashing with light from time to time. It was especially frightening in this dark night. When he saw this old man who hid his true strength, Zhou Hao felt a chill in his heart. He thought to himself that this old man's strength was probably even stronger than the expert called Stone Dragon that Dong Qishan had with him. When did so many experts come out? If these people are also ninja, then they will pose a huge threat to our country. Zhou Hao thought in his heart, but his intuition told him that these people were not the ninja from before. 4 people walked out of the SUV, and Hao Tailang, who was carried by someone, was unconscious. The few people who walked out of the building also came up to them. The old man in the lead said, "None of them are hurt, right?" The person who carried Hao Tailang said, "Thank you, second elder, for your concern. None of us are injured. Fortunately, those soldiers were held back by the Wind Devil clans, allowing us to take advantage of them. I wonder what kind of expert the Wind Devil Clan's ninja encountered. He actually detonated a bomb. Clearly, he wants to perish together with that person. The old man called, second elder, touched his goatee. It should be the expert who captured Hao Tairong alive with a single move that Tang Ho mentioned. I just don't know if he was killed by the explosion of the Wind Devil Clan. If that's the case, it would be such a pity. He said, Tang Kuei, where's Tang Lu? It turned out that the person who carried Hao Tailang was called Tang Kuei. He said, he went to lure away those soldiers. With his skills, he should be fine. Second elder, don't worry. Second elder nodded. Then come in quickly. We have to ask this Hao Tailang properly. Thus, the group of people quickly returned to the building. No matter how many martial arts experts these people were, they could not find Zhou Hao, who was hiding under the off-road vehicle. Zhou Hao quickly crawled out from the bottom of the vehicle and silently appeared in front of the building. He jumped onto the balcony of the second floor and saw the second elder, Tang Kuei, and the others carrying Hao Tailang to the living room on the second floor. They put the unconscious Hao Tailang on a chair, and Tang Kuei immediately opened Hao Tailang's mouth to check his teeth. As expected, his poison bag was taken by someone. That's why he didn't succeed in killing himself. He didn't even have a transmitter. I guess those people from the military used his transmitter to attract the people from the Wind Devil Clan. Zhou Hao, who was outside, saw Tang Kuei opening Hao Tailang's mouth and guessed that they were the same as him. He also knew that Hao Tailang had a poison sac in his mouth. Furthermore, the Wind Devil Clan they were talking about was obviously referring to the powerful ninja. Looking at this, Zhou Hao was now sure that these people were not from the same organization as the Wind Devil Clan ninja. At this time, the second elder said, his acupuncture point was pointed. Tang Kuei, help him undo it. Understood, second elder. Tang Kuei replied and stretched out his index and middle fingers to tap Hao Tailang's chest a few times. However, Hao Tailang's body was still very stiff and did not soften at all. Tang Kuei raised his eyebrows and pressed a few more times on Hao Tailang's body, but he still did not release Hao Tailang's acupuncture points. Second elder's expression changed slightly. Let me do it. Tang Kuei immediately bowed and stepped aside. The second elder came in front of Hao Tailang and took a deep breath. His movements were very fierce as he tapped Hao Tailang's chest 3 times in a row. Moreover, he withdrew it at once and retracted it at will. This showed that he was very powerful. However, even when the second elder attacked, he still did not release the acupoints on Hao Tailang's body. At this moment, the second elder was also shocked. How is this possible? Even I can't open it? What? What a deep skill. He turned to look at Tang Kuei. This should be sealed by the expert who captured him alive. That person's skill is too deep. I can't even undo it. The acupoints on Hao Tailang's body were indeed sealed by Zhou Hao. Previously, when Zhou Hao sealed Yang Xiaogui's acupoints, not even Yang Dongshin was able to open it. It was only after Zhou Hao personally opened it that he was able to do so. Therefore, unless it was someone with a stronger cultivation than Zhou Hao who could forcefully open Hao Tailang's acupoints, Hao Tailang wouldn't be able to move unless Zhou Hao attacked. Fine, let's wake Hao Tailang up. I hope that expert didn't seal his mute acupoint. Second elder said with a sigh. Someone immediately poured a bucket of cold water on Hao Tailang's face and woke him up. Hao Tailang slowly opened his eyes and saw the second elder, Tang Kuei, and the others who had their faces covered. His expression changed drastically. He immediately looked around and found that he was no longer in the dungeon of the military camp. However, he soon calmed down. He stared at the second elder, Tang Kuei, and the others and said, I didn't expect that I would be captured by the Tang sect in the end. You must have taken advantage of the fight between our Wind Devil Clan and the military to fish for benefits. You're really smart. No wonder the Wind Devil Clan arranged for you to hide in the Public Security Bureau. Second elder stroked his beard and said with a smile. When Zhou Hao, who was on the balcony outside, heard Hao Tailang say that these were people from the Tang sect, his heart suddenly shook. He thought to himself, could these people be the people from the poisonous family described in those wuxia novels, the Tang sect of Sichuan? The existence of the Tang sect of Sichuan was mentioned in many novels. It was said that the disciples of the Tang sect were secretive and unpredictable. They gave people a feeling that they were both good and evil. The reason why the martial artists in the martial arts world were afraid of the Tang sect was because of the unparalleled hidden weapons and poison of the Tang sect. Could it be that this Tang sect is the same sect as the one described in the novel? Does the Tang sect really exist in the real world? Zhou Hao kept guessing in his heart. Hao Tailang looked coldly at the second elder and the others. I know what your purpose of capturing me is. There's no need to talk nonsense. I won't say it. Just use whatever means you have. I, Tanaka, am not a Wind Devil Clan person. After frowning for a moment, a righteous expression appeared on his face as well, because he knew that he had fallen into the hands of the Tang sect, which was even more dangerous than being in the hands of the military or the National Security Bureau. There was absolutely no possibility of him being spared, so he was prepared to sacrifice himself. However, he heard the second elder say, I know that the people of your Wind Devil Clan have received interrogation training since they were young. Even with the help of the blade and axe, they would not reveal the secrets of the clan. However, you are looking down on our Tang sect too much. For the past few hundred years, our Tang sect has been suppressing your Wind Devil Clan. Do you really think we don't have a way to deal with you? Humph. You have to know, those so-called ninjutsu techniques of your Wind Devil clans, they were all secretly learned from our Tang sect back then. Katarp Yoshida sneered. You people of China are like this. You will only remember the glory of the past. That's right. Our Japanese ninjutsu was learned from you, but after so many years of improvement and development, we have long since formed our own faction. And you all are still stuck in your own ways, immersed in the success of the past, thinking that you are just looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. That's why your China was invaded by us. If not for those Americans interfering, China would have long become our territory. Hearing Kutaru Yoshida's words, the second elder shook his head. You Japanese people are the same. You will always look down on others. Fine, it's useless to talk to you. I'll let you experience the true strength of our Tang sect. Soul-searching FA. The second elder shouted loudly. His slightly narrowed eyes suddenly opened wide. The occasional flash of light that flashed through his eyes was also completely unleashed, shooting straight into Katara's eyes. When he saw the second elder's gaze, Katara Matarai froze as if he had been petrified. The expression on his face also froze, and his pupils rapidly dilated. It was as if he had lost his soul in an instant. Zhou Hao, who was on the balcony, also saw the second elder's eyes. His entire body trembled violently, and he felt as if his soul was about to be sucked into the second elder's evil eyes. Fortunately, his inner energy and willpower were strong enough to calm him down in just a breath's time. However, he still had lingering fears. He was secretly shocked that the second elder was amazing. His soul-searching large FA should be an extremely powerful hypnosis technique that was driven by deep inner energy. Furthermore, when Zhou Hao heard that the Japanese ninjutsu was secretly learned from the Tang sect, he was extremely shocked in his heart. He had long heard that the Japanese ninjutsu was actually developed from the five-elemental escape technique of China during the Tang dynasty's exchange. From the looks of it, this theory had some basis. However, if it was true, then the history of this Tang sect could be traced back to the Tang dynasty for over 1,000 years. The second elder's gaze was firmly fixed on Oda Yoshida. His voice also became misty and carried a strong guiding force. He could only hear him asking Oda Yoshida, "What's your name? What's your status in the Wind Devil clan? How long have you been hiding in our China?" "My name is Oda Yoshida. I'm the secret son of the division leader of the 9 great divisions of the Wind Devil clans. I was born and raised in China. It's been 32 years since I was born." Oda Yoshida's expression was dull, like a wooden puppet that could speak. Second elder asked again, "How many people are hidden in China in your Wind Devil clans?" Kotaro Yoshida answered honestly, "There are a total of 30 secret members of the Battle Division and the Warrior Division. The remaining outer members have a total of 81 people. Also, the 2 patriarchs of the Battle Division and Personage Division are also in China. Are you hiding in the Public Security Division and intentionally getting close to the Kai clan to find the whereabouts of the Imperial Jade Seals?" "Yes, we found out that Kai Shiwahu's grandfather, Kai Dashi's father, is a very skilled grave robber. There might be an Imperial Jade Seal in the tomb of Feng Dao, an important official of the Tang dynasty. Therefore, the clan has arranged for me to get close to Kai Shiwahu and Kai Dashi in order to find the whereabouts of the Imperial Jade Seal." Tang Kuei and the others looked at each other in dismay when they heard what Yoshida Haitaro said, while the second elder stroked his beard and said, "According to legend, the Imperial Jade Seal fell into the hands of Ho Tang during the chaos of war. Later on, Ho Tang was destroyed, and later Tang Lord Li Tsongka and Empress Chao Empress Dowager Empress Lu carried the Imperial Jade Seal and ascended the stairs. But in truth, the Imperial Jade Seal really fell into the hands of Feng Dao, an important official of Ho Tang at that time. But we also went to Feng Dao's tomb in the past to search for it, but those were all fake tombs of Feng Dao. But we don't know where the real tomb is. Could it be that Kai Dashi's father found Feng Dao's real tomb? Who is it?" The second elder suddenly let out a cold shout. He waved his right hand, and 3 streaks of silver light flew out like lightning towards the balcony. They silently passed through the window of the balcony and went straight for Zhou Hao's chest and throat. It turned out that Zhou Hao had heard that the second elder and Oda Yoshida were looking for a heaven-shaking secret treasure, the Imperial Jade Seal. His mind was shaken, and his breathing unconsciously became rough. The second elder's martial arts was unfathomable. When Zhou Hao was fully focused on restraining his aura, he could still hide himself from being discovered, but the moment he relaxed, he was immediately noticed by the second elder. Good timing. Zhou Hao saw the 3 silver lights fly from the second elder's hand to his front in an instant. Furthermore, all of the attacks were aimed at his vital points. He was surprised by the second elder's hidden weapon skill. But how could Zhou Hao be so easily hit? His upper body slightly moved to the side, and the 3 silver lights went straight into the balcony and entered half of the balcony. Only then did he see that there were 3 silver needles. But before Zhou Hao could recover his breath, another 3 silver needles arrived in front of him. He immediately raised his hands and grabbed 2 of the silver needles. The last one was aimed at Zhou Hao's face. Zhou Hao opened his mouth and gritted his teeth, biting the last silver needle. Since my friend is very skilled in martial arts, he shouldn't be sneaking around like a thief. Come out and see me. The second elder's voice came from inside the room. Zhou Hao smiled helplessly, stood up, and walked in through the door of the balcony. That Imperial Jade Seal had given him too much of a shock, causing him to accidentally expose himself. However, just like what the second elder had said, since he had been discovered, there was no need for him to be sneaky anymore. After Zhou Hao appeared, the second elder's expression turned serious. Initially, he thought that the person who could receive his 2 Tiger Soul silver needles must be an expert with several decades of cultivation base. He didn't expect that it would be such a young man. At the same time, a man with a face covered exclaimed when he saw Zhou Hao, "It's him." As for Oda Yoshida, as he was still under the deep hypnosis of the second elder, he didn't have any reaction to Zhou Hao's appearance. He was just like a wooden puppet. The second elder turned around and looked at him. "Tang Li, do you know him?" Tang Feng pointed at Zhou Hao and said, "Yes, he was the one who captured Oda Yoshida." Zhou Hao looked at the masked man called Tang Wei and smiled. "You must be one of the policemen at that time. I thought you were Hao Tailong's accomplice, so I let you go on purpose to lure all of Hao Tailong's accomplices out." "Oh, it turns out that you wanted to use Keita Haitaro as bait to invite the king into the trap." The second elder looked at Zhou Hao with sparkling eyes, as if he was surprised by Zhou Hao's careful mind. He said to Zhou Hao, "The people of the Wind Devil clan detonated the bomb for you, right? That was a very powerful C4 bomb. I didn't expect that you wouldn't be hurt at all." Hearing the modern word C4 coming out of the mouth of the second elder of Tang sect, Zhou Hao suddenly had an awkward feeling in his heart. But he immediately got rid of these messy thoughts and said to the second elder, "Cut the crap. I just heard you guys talking about Imperial Jade Seals. What the hell is going on?" The Imperial Jade Seal was the token of the ancient emperor of China. The history books recorded that the Imperial Jade Seal was carved from the He family's jade. The history book recorded that the Imperial Jade Seal was carved by Qin Shi Huang's order. The seal was 4 inches wide, and it was connected to the 5 dragons. On the front of the seal was written by Li Si, "Receiving the orders of the heavens, longevity and longevity are eternal." The 8 characters were written with the words, "Imperial power bestowed by the gods, legitimate and legal." After that, generations of emperors used the Imperial Jade Seal as a token of agreement, and treated it as a rare treasure, treating it as a national treasure. Obtaining it meant that it was entrusted to the heavens, and losing it meant that its fate had come to an end. If one ascended to the throne but did not have this Imperial Jade Seal, they would be ridiculed as whiteboard emperors. They would appear to be lacking confidence and would be looked down upon by the world. Hence, it urged the people who wanted to seize the throne to compete with each other, causing the Imperial Jade Seal to change its owner time and time again. And after more than 2,000 years in China, it finally disappeared without a trace until now. It was said that the Imperial Jade Seal was made by He Clan's wall. The value of He Clan's wall was known by primary school students. It was truly priceless. The Imperial Jade Seal made from the He Clan's wall was also the symbol of the highest authority in China. Its significance could be said to be unique. It was a national treasure. Only the Imperial Jade Seal could be called a true national treasure, the inheritance of a great system. Although China had entered a new society, the Imperial Jade Seal had condensed the wisdom and culture of the China people for 1,000 years, and its value was immeasurable. At present, the ink and porcelain used by an ancient emperor could be sold for tens of millions of yuan. imperial jade seal had been passed down by many emperors. If it was really put up for auction, who knew how high the price would be? Or it could be said that imperial jade seal was priceless. Actually, Zhou Hao thought that this imperial jade seal had been missing for 1,000 years. If it had never appeared, its influence would be extremely limited. At most, it would only exist in the legends of history and leave it for later generations to yearn for. But if this imperial jade seal really appeared, then the huge waves it would stir up would be hard to estimate. Especially now, even the Wind Devil clan of Japan was looking for imperial jade seal. Many of the national treasures and cultural relics were now in foreign countries, and it had already dealt a heavy blow to the culture and dignity of the Chinese people. In particular, although Japan had a deep communication with China, many people felt that China and Japan were mortal enemies. If the imperial jade seal fell into the hands of the Japanese, it would be a huge blow to the dignity of the China people. Without a doubt, this was because someone had dug out their ancestral grave and placed it in a museum. Therefore, Zhou Hao secretly made up his mind. Even if he destroyed the imperial jade seal, he would never let it fall into the hands of foreigner, especially the Japanese. The imperial jade seal has been missing for 1,000 years. We have been searching for it. The second elder said, but after searching for so many years, we have never found the whereabouts of the imperial jade seal. These people from the Wind Devil clan have been hiding in China ever since the war against Japan ended. They are also searching for the imperial jade seal. He pointed at the wooden Yamata and said to Zhou Hao, after the war against Japan ended, a portion of the Japanese stayed in China. One of them was the person arranged by the Wind Devil clan. In fact, during the war, the Wind Devil clan had used the Japanese military to search for imperial jade seals in China, but they had never been able to find it. After the war ended, they did not give up. These Wind Devil clans have been living in China for the past 10 years, and Kotaro Yoshida should be the third generation. Whether it's in terms of information or accounts, they're all Japanese. No one will doubt that they're not Chinese. Zhou Hao finally understood. No wonder those ninja who invaded the military camp earlier had a native accent in his Mandarin. He sounded exactly the same as the authentic Chinese. It turned out that they had stayed in China ever since the end of the war. They were the descendants of the Wind Devil clan. In this way, they had been hiding in China for more than half a century. What about you? Zhou Hao asked the second elder. Who are you? The second elder smiled. Actually, you should have heard it when you were outside. We are from the Tang sect. Hee. I know that many wuxia novels describe the Tang sect. In fact, some of them are actually true. The people of the Tang sect are indeed very knowledgeable about poisons and concealed weapons. However, we are not the Tang sect of Sichuan or the Tang sect of Sichuan. Sichuan is not our hometown. Zhou Hao thought of something and said to the second elder, could it be that your hometown is Shangxi, the Shangxi from 1,000 years ago? The second elder was slightly moved when he heard this, and he couldn't help but say to Zhou Hao, your mind is really agile. That's right, our Tang sect was established in the Tang dynasty. The reason why it's called the Tang sect isn't because our surname is Tang. It was because of the Tang dynasty. In the beginning, Tang sect was a secret intelligence department established by Tang Taizong, Li Shiming. It was used to investigate the enemy. Later, after the Tang dynasty was established, we became the secret organization of the royal family to monitor all the officials, just like the Ming dynasty's Imperial Secret Service and East Factory. However, our existence was not recorded in any history books. However, even though 1,000 years have passed, we have been passed down until now. We are the true Tang. After hearing the second elder's words, Zhou Hao finally understood that the Tang sect actually had such a long history. Furthermore, the Tang sect had been established as an intelligence department from the very beginning. The people inside were naturally proficient in all kinds of stealth and assassination techniques. At that time, the Japanese had learned these techniques. After many years of development, they had become the familiar ninja. Zhou Hao said, however, the Tang dynasty has been destroyed for 1,000 years. It is commendable that you were able to survive until now. That's because after the destruction of the Tang dynasty, we will no longer participate in the struggle for the replacement of the dynasty and live in seclusion to preserve our bloodline. The second elder said. Zhou Hao's mind shook. The second elder's words about preserving the bloodline didn't seem to mean that he wanted to preserve the bloodline of the Tang sect. The people of the Tang sect shouldn't have been managed by their family during the Tang dynasty, so there should be a lot of people with family names among them. There was no need to distinguish between their own people and those with other surnames. There was no need to deliberately preserve the bloodline of these people. Therefore, Zhou Hao guessed that the Tang sect must have the bloodline of the royal family of the Tang dynasty. which was Li Shiming. This speculation shocked Zhou Hao. If that was the case, then the Tang sect must protect the royal family. Zhou Hao thought to himself. When the Tang dynasty was on the brink of destruction, the emperor had given his son to the Tang sect, a department that was loyal and secret to the royal family, to protect him. At the same time, he told them not to participate in any more conflicts between the powers of the dynasty to ensure the safety of their children. Other than that, the Tang sect obviously had another mission. It was to find the whereabouts of the imperial jade seal. According to the historical records, the royal family of the Tang dynasty did indeed possess the imperial jade seal, and from beginning to end, there were three main explanations for the imperial jade seal. The first was that when the late Tang Emperor Li Tsongka self-destructed, the imperial jade seal went missing. The second was that after 946 AD, the emperor was captured by the Liao Taizong and lost. The third type was lost in the hands of Emperor Yuan Shun. When Zhou Hao was on the balcony, he had heard the second elder and Oda Yoshida say that the whereabouts of the imperial jade seal should be more inclined to the first explanation. At this point, Zhou Hao was filled with mixed emotions. He never thought that his trip back to Huayu village and meeting this evil young master, Kai Shuehe, would lead to such a series of unforeseen events. It was even related to the imperial jade seal, a precious treasure of the empire. Looks like I have to investigate that Kai Shuehe thoroughly, Zhou Hao thought to himself. Looking at the soulless Oda Yoshida, Zhou Hao said to the second elder of the Tang sect, I captured this Japanese man alive, and I also need him to tell me the clues about the imperial jade seal, as well as the situation of their Wind Devil clan hiding in China. So please return him to me, sir. As for the matter of you sneaking into an important military area, I can let bygones be bygones. Although these people from the Tang sect took advantage of the time when Zhou Hao and the others were fighting with the people from the Wind Devil clan to sneak in and take away Oda Yoshida. However, they did not kill those soldiers and the people from the National Security Bureau. They only knocked them out, so Zhou Hao did not intend to pursue the matter. By the way, how did you find Oda Yoshida? Zhou Hao asked. The second elder said, Tang Yui is a colleague of Oda Haolong in the Public Security Bureau of Dongyang County. Because we have already discovered him. Therefore, Tang Yui placed a special medicine on his body. This medicine was not poisonous, but it could make his body emit a smell that humans could not smell. We can use a small animal called Xiao Shu to track his smell and find him. So that's how it is. The Tang sect is indeed extraordinary. Zhou Hao said with a smile. The man with the Wind Devil clan had used the transmitter on Katara Yoshida to look for him, but was lured over by Zhou Hao. The Tang sect, on the other hand, used the potion they made to track him. Obviously, they were better than the man with the Wind Devil clan. The second elder looked at Zhou Hao and said, I'm surprised that you have such a high cultivation base at such a young age. I also admire you. However, this Shintian Hayataro is too important to us. We can't give him to you. When Zhou Hao heard this, he frowned. I'm not doing this for my personal purpose. I'm going to hand him over to the country. Don't you trust me? Or do you want to stand on the opposite side of the country? Second elder shook his head. We have never thought of going against the country. However, the task of finding the imperial jade seal is the responsibility and discipline of the Tang sect for the past 1,000 years. We must complete this task. Zhou Hao sighed. There's no other way. It seems like we can only use force. Upon hearing Zhou Hao's words, Tang Kuei, Tang Su, and the others' facial expression changed, while the second elder sneered. I heard from Tang Su that you have captured Keita Haolong with just one strike. I also want to see how powerful your martial arts is. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing a pair of jade-white hands. They did not look like the hands of an old man at all. It was obvious that he had practiced a very powerful palm technique. However, Zhou Hao was not afraid at all. He said with a smile, I also want to experience the martial arts of the elders of Tang sect. He knew that the Tang sect had been passed down for thousands of years. Some martial arts passed down from the Tang dynasty would definitely be very powerful, so he wanted to see it too. I apologize for offending you. The second elder cupped his fists at Zhou Hao. He had the style of ancient martial arts. Come on. Zhou Hao extended his right hand and made a pleased gesture. The second elder suddenly took a step forward, leaping towards Zhou Hao with great momentum. When he stepped forward, his 2 feet left deep footprints on the floor. Just by looking at the footprints on the floor, which were as deep as an inch, and there were no cracks anywhere else, one could tell that the inner energy of the second elder was unfathomable. The second elder knew that although Zhou Hao was young, his martial arts was unfathomable. Even with his 60 years of cultivation, he was still unable to open his sealed acupuncture points. Therefore, the second elder had exerted all of his strength without holding back at all. Zhou Hao saw that the speed of the second elder's palms reaching out to him was not fast, but there was a kind of oppressive force. It was as if the mountains and the seas were crashing down, and the qi had tightly enveloped his entire body. The strength of the second elder of the Tang sect is even higher than the Jingukyu Shiro beside Nanami Keiru. Zhou Hao concluded in his heart and did not dare to underestimate the second elder. He pushed his palms forward to meet the second elder's attack. When the four palms collided, a dull sound was heard. The air around Zhou Hao and the second elder was immediately sucked out, forming a fierce whirlwind that blew all the furniture in the living room to the ground. Although the second elder had cultivated his internal energy bitterly for 60 years, and his strength could be said to be unfathomable, after Zhou Hao consumed the amber fruit, all the potential in his body was unearthed. He had also cultivated the qi nourishment records, and his strength was unimaginably high. Thus, under this head-on collision, the second elder was immediately forced 3 steps back, leaving 3 footprints that were much deeper than before on the ground, almost piercing through the floor of the second floor. Although Zhou Hao was able to stand firmly on the spot without moving, due to the immense force, his 2 feet were deeply imprinted into the floor. Furthermore, his arms were also slightly hurt by the tremendous force just now. He thought to himself that the second elder's martial arts was really high. The second elder circulated his inner energy to suppress the blood and qi in his body that was being shaken by Zhou Hao. A surprised expression flashed across his face. He thought in his heart, what kind of martial arts does this kid practice? How can he be so powerful? Even if he started practicing martial arts from his mother's womb, he would at most have over 20 years of martial arts. When Tang Kuei and Tang Su saw that the second elder was actually forced back by Zhou Hao, they immediately went forward to support him. Second elder, are you all right? The second elder swung his hand, and there was no need for the 2 of them to support him. You two, quickly bring Oda Yoshida back. But Tang Yue hesitated for a moment. He had already witnessed the strength of Zhou Hao in the Huayu village's Yen family. He knew that he was no match for Zhou Hao. He thought that as long as the elder made a move, he would be able to fight Zhou Hao. But now, it seemed like even the second elder was no match for Zhou Hao. But what? You don't even listen to my orders? The second elder shouted coldly. I dare not. Tang Yefeng hurriedly responded and was about to follow Tang Kuei and the others to take the 3 souls and 7 souls of Takeda, who was sitting on the chair, away. Don't even think about leaving. However, he heard Zhou Hao shout. He swung his left hand, and an invisible blade energy rushed towards Tang Kuei and Tang Yule. A blade energy from your hand? The second elder felt the sharp blade energy from Zhou Hao and was shocked. He hurriedly shouted to Tang Kuei and Tang Yefeng, who were behind him, be careful. Tang Kuei and Tang Yefeng's movements were not slow either. They immediately pulled out the blades on their backs. Zhou Hao also saw their blades at this moment. Their shapes were similar to the Japanese blades, but they felt much more concise and sharp than the Japanese blades. Tang Kuei and Tang Su poured genuine auras into the sabers in their hands and felt the whistling saber energy. They stepped forward with their left feet at the same time. The long saber in their hands suddenly slashed forward and collided with Zhou Hao's saber qi. Zhou Hao's blade qi collided with Tang Kuei's and Tang Su's blade qi, producing a sound like a balloon leaking air. Tang Kuei and Tang Yue were pushed back by the force of the blade energy. They slid 2 meters before stopping. Their hands, which were holding the blades, were also shaken to the point of hurting. However, the sabers in their hands were not damaged at all under Zhou Hao's indestructible saber qi. What a hard saber! Zhou Hao was shocked in his heart. Although the blade energy he sent out could not be said to be split into gold and stone. However, the blade in Tang Kuei's hand was perfectly fine. It could be seen that it was sharp and hard. Other than Tang Kuei, a few masked men also rushed towards Oda Yoshida, who was sitting on the chair, wanting to take him away. However, Zhou Hao was not willing to do so. With a wave of his hands, he threw out 2 sharp blade energies. The second elder moved sideways and blocked the 2 incoming blade energies in front of them. He shouted, Great Calm Divine Palm. He raised both of his palms and pushed them forward. He wanted to take Zhou Hao's 2-blade qi with his bare hands. Huh! The second elder shouted out loudly, and the 2 blade energies collided into his palms at the same time. Zhou Hao could even see the sparks produced when his blade energy collided with the genuine aura on the second elder's palm. Finally, the second elder blocked Zhou Hao's 2 genuine auras with his bare hands. However, he was pushed back by the force and slid more than a meter. The soles of his shoes dug out 2 lines of fine powder on the floor. At this moment, the masked men had already lifted Keidataro from his chair and quickly left the hall. Zhou Hao immediately pounced on him, but the second elder did not hesitate. His two hands formed a fist and interlocked with each other as he punched at Zhou Hao. At the same time, he shouted, "Great calm divine fist." The force of the punch was even more ferocious than the one he used against Zhou Hao just now. There was even a faint sound of the fist breaking through the air. Lei Hu's demon claw. Zhou Hao didn't show any weakness either. He unleashed the strongest attack in the tiger play. Great calm divine fist and Lei Hu's demon claw collided violently in the air. The air around them was compressed and then exploded, causing the tea table and chairs beside them to fall down. In order to prevent them from taking away Tanaka, Zhou Hao didn't hold back and used his full strength. A punch with 100% of Zhou Hao's power could shatter a huge rock. Even if the second elder had a 60-year cultivation base, how could he resist it? He was sent flying on the spot. He crashed heavily into the wall behind him and broke through the wall. He also spurted out a large mouthful of blood in the air. The second elder was sent flying, but Zhou Hao was not in a good situation either. He somersaulted in the air and landed on the ground. He took 5 or 6 steps back before he was able to neutralize the force of the second elder's all-out attack. The blood and chi in his body was also surging slightly, and his fingers were trembling slightly. If I hadn't eaten the amber fruit and practiced the chi nourishment records, I wouldn't have been a match for this elder even if there were 10 of me. Zhou Hao sighed. At that moment, the sound of a car starting came from below. Zhou Hao quickly went to the balcony and saw that the off-road vehicle had driven out of the yard and was about to leave. Just as he was about to fly down to chase after it, he suddenly felt a fierce, genuine aura approaching him from behind. He immediately turned around and punched out. When he turned around, Zhou Hao saw that it was the second elder who had launched a sneak attack on him. He saw that the second elder's face was purple gold, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The palms that were attacking him also had a vermilion color. Spirit Deer Horn. Zhou Hao knew that the second elder's attack was not to be underestimated, so he quickly attacked. His fist struck the second elder from 2 different directions at the same time. However, just as his fist was about to collide with the second elder's palm, the second elder's palm suddenly turned towards the ground. His entire body followed the powerful genuine aura and soared into the sky, flying past Zhou Hao's head and towards the balcony. Zhou Hao did not expect the second elder to suddenly change his technique. His 2 fists missed, and he also took a step forward. It was already too late to turn around and grab the second elder. The second elder's figure flew past Zhou Hao and flew out of the balcony. 2 large wings broke through his clothes and extended out from his back. It was a pair of wings similar to a glider. His body flew out from the second floor, and his technique fell to the ground. However, just as he was about to fall to the ground, the 2 wings on his back carried him back to the sky and slowly flew into the distance. At the same time, the off-road vehicle that Tang Kuei and the others were driving had already flown 5 or 6 kilometers away, and it was difficult for them to catch up. He looked at the back of the second elder, who was constantly shrinking in the night sky, as well as the off-road vehicle that could no longer catch up. Zhou Hao stood on the balcony in a daze. After a while, he muttered to himself, "D***MN. This is too amazing." He did not expect the second elder to hide such a high-tech equipment on him that could allow him to escape from the sky in times of danger. Katara Yoshida was also taken away. Ever since Zhou Hao had mastered martial arts, he had never suffered such a loss. Tang sect, I will remember all of you." Zhou Hao took a deep breath and muttered to himself. However, after knowing the existence of the Tang sect and the Wind Devil clan, and obtaining clues about the Imperial Jade Seal, this trip is not considered empty-handed. Suddenly, Zhou Hao thought of Kai Dushi and Kai Shueha. He was afraid that the people of the Tang sect and the Wind Devil clan would find them first. Kai Shuehi was now imprisoned in the Public Security Bureau of Xiang City, but the people of Tang sect and Wind Devil clan dared to intrude into a military place. An ordinary public security bureau was nothing. Therefore, he immediately found a phone in the room and called Zhao Dingzhou. "Big brother, go and control Kai Dashi and Kai Shuer immediately. The last 2 days have been depressing, and his nephew, Cheshire, has been bugging him." Kai Dashi was 53 years old this year, but he had not. Moreover, Kai Shueha's biological parents had also died in a traffic accident in the early years. That was why he had raised Kai Shueha as his own son since he was young. He treated him even better than his own son. Kai Dashi's father, Kai Yuanchu, was a grave robber. Other than Kai Dashi and his brother, no one else knew about this. And Kai Dashi's elder brother had died in a traffic accident. This was a secret. Kaidashi was the only one who knew about this, not even Kai Shuer. After all, this matter was not that glorious. Although Kai Yuanchu had passed away many years ago, Kaidashi had made use of the money left behind by his father after many years of tomb raiding, as well as a few precious cultural relics found in the ancient tomb, to make friends with the people of the provincial government. Because of this, Kaidashi became the head of a county in Dongyang County. Dongyang County was a relatively remote county in Guangdong. However, even though it was a remote county, there were still profits to be gained. Furthermore, being far away also had its advantages, which was that it was far away. Kaidashi was the true ruler of the county, and Kai Shuer was able to do whatever she wanted in the county. A while ago, Kai Shuehe found out that the Huayu village, which was under the jurisdiction of Xiang City, had built a highway. The fruits in the Huayu village were delicious. Kai Shuer knew that once the road in the Huayu village was built, the fruits that could only be rotten in the mountains would immediately become a huge fortune. Therefore, he started to pay attention to Huayu village. Although Kai Shuehe was a hedonistic person, he was very filial to his father, his uncle. Thus, he told Kaidashi about Huayu village. Kaidashi also agreed to let him develop such a money-making path. He also used his relationship with the provincial government to settle the matter with the town government of Huayu village. However, after Kai Shuehu came to Huayu village, he found out that 90% of the fruit farmers in Huayu village had already signed an agreement with the Heavenly River Beverage Company. Looking at the factory and scale of Heavenly River, Kai Shuehe knew that this company had over 100 million in assets. It would be very troublesome for him to provoke it. Therefore, he didn't have any thoughts about the fruit farmers who signed the contract with Heavenly River. Instead, he went to look for the other fruit farmers who didn't sign the contract with Heavenly River. He didn't expect to mess with Zhou Hao, who was a great Buddha. At this moment, Kaidashi was pacing back and forth in his office. Kai Shuehe was arrested and sent to the Public Security Bureau of Xiang City. According to the testimony of Wei Tonghai and the others, it was enough to convict Kai Shuehe. Nothing can happen to Shuer. If we don't let him go, our Kai family will have no descendants. Kaidashi muttered to himself. He had called Situ Li before, but Situ Li's attitude was very firm. He had to convict Kai Shuehe. However, Situ Li also revealed some information to Kaidashi. It was that the Zhou Hao that Kai Shuehu had provoked was someone from the province. This was a bad move of Situ Li. In fact, Zhou Hao was more than just, there are people in the province. Zhou Hao is not only Zhao Rixin's adopted son, but also Chief Number 1 and a few other important officials of the country. They had seen him before. He was an authentic person from the court. However, Situ Li did not tell this to Kaidashi. He just wanted Kaidashi to look down on Zhou Hao and then fight him head-on. With the power of the Zhao family behind Zhou Hao, eliminating a county head was even easier than crushing an ant. That Zhou Hao is here. Don't tell me I don't have one, Kaidashi said angrily. He picked up the phone on the table and wanted to call the person he had befriended in the provincial political meeting. However, just as he picked up the phone, the office door was pushed open. Kaidashi turned around and saw a few unfamiliar men walking in. He frowned. What's the matter? This is the county government. You can't just barge in. This was only when he saw that the few of them could come to his office unimpeded. Obviously, they were not ordinary people. Otherwise, with his prestige, he would have sent the security guards to kick them out long ago. However, the man in the lead took out his identification card and showed it to Kaidashi. He said expressionlessly, Mr. Kaidashi, we are from the National Security Bureau. There are some things that we would like to ask you to go back and assist in the investigation. The National Security Bureau? Kaidashi was stunned. His first reaction was to suspect that his corruption and bribery were exposed. But on second thought, if that was the case, then the person who came looking for him should be someone from the Provincial Disciplinary Committee. Suddenly, Kaidashi was alarmed. Could it be that the matter of my father's grave robbery is connected to the heavens? When he thought of this, he couldn't help but shiver. Kai Yuanyu had stolen dozens of tombs in the past, and he had plundered a lot of cultural relics. Most of them had been sold overseas. Although Kai Yuanyu had died a long time ago, Kaidashi had also secretly kept the cultural relics that he had left behind and even used them to bribe officials. This was indeed a serious crime. The people from the National Security Bureau did not pay attention to Kaidashi's days. Two people went forward and caught him. They did not even need to handcuff him and just escorted him out of the county government. At the same time, the people from the National Security Bureau also came to the Xiang City's Public Security Bureau and took Kai Shuehe away. Situ Li naturally didn't dare to ask about the people from the National Security Bureau, not to mention that Zhou Hao had already informed him before. Before the captain of the National Security Bureau who took Kai Shuer away left, he said to Situ Li. This time, you have helped our National Security Bureau catch an important criminal. We will report it to the higher-ups. This sentence made Situ Li surprised. After all, the National Security Bureau was directly under the command of the central government. If he could get close to them, there would definitely be a lot of benefits. Furthermore, Situ Li also knew that this matter must have been mediated by Zhou Hao, which was why he was in the eyes of those people from the National Security Bureau. TSK, Xiao Hao really has extraordinary vision. If Jianin can marry him in the future, then my future will really be limitless. Situ Li couldn't help but have this thought when he thought about how close his daughter was to Zhou Hao. Kai Dashi and Kai Shuer were transferred to a secret office of the National Security Bureau in Guangdong. They were not tampered with by the people of Tang sect or Wind Devil clans. Therefore, they wouldn't be able to find them. Kai Dashi, we have found out that your father, Kai Yuanchu, is a grave robber who has committed a lot of crimes. He has sold a lot of national cultural relics. Even you, the county head of Dongyang County, used his money to buy cultural relics. At this time, Kai Dashi was being interrogated by the National Security Bureau. The man said with a cold face, "Your father should still have a lot of cultural relics. You'd better say it. Otherwise, with what you've done all these years, it's enough for you to be shot 10 times. Kai Dashi's current expression no longer had the pride and power of a county head. Instead, he looked very dejected. He looked at the person from the National Security Bureau opposite him. Even if I say it, I will still die in the end. If you are willing to cooperate, we can exempt you from the death penalty. However, the death penalty can be exempted from the crime of living, and you will not be able to live in prison for the rest of your life." Someone from the National Security Bureau said. Kai Dashi laughed self-deprecatingly. "Instead, it would be better to die than live. It would be better to shoot you to death." Humph. Humph. Not only you, even your nephew Kai Shueha has done all kinds of bad things over the years. He can't help but be shot. Beside the man from the National Security Bureau sat a handsome young man. It was Zhou Hao. When Kai Dashi heard Kai Shueha, his body trembled, but he quickly calmed down and looked up at Zhou Hao. "You're Zhou Hao?" he asked. "I didn't think that Hure would provoke someone like you and destroy our Kai clan." He stared at Zhou Hao and said, "Did I say that you can let Hure go?" Zhou Hao and the man from the National Security Bureau looked at each other. Then he smiled at Kai Dashi. "That depends on your attitude." Kai Dashi took a deep breath and said, "Actually, I've already figured out why you wanted me back. Are you doing this for the Imperial Jade Seal?" When he said this, Zhou Hao and the people from the National Security Bureau couldn't help but change their expressions. Zhou Hao said, "It seems that your father really encountered the whereabouts of the Imperial Jade Seal. Quickly tell us." "As long as there is a Imperial Jade Seal, all the treasures in China will be worthless." Kai Dashi suddenly revealed a smile. "My father has been robbing tombs for his entire life, and the thing he wants to dig the most is Imperial Jade Seal. Not only him, but all the grave robbers think the same way, and even view it as their lifelong goal. When I was young, my dad accidentally found the tomb of an important official of the later Tang dynasty, Feng Dao. Although Feng Dao was only an official, he was cunning by nature. He made many fake tombs for himself. Even the experienced grave robbers could not tell if they were real or fake. However, my father still found them." Hearing Kai Dashi's words, Zhou Hao and the people of the National Security Bureau felt their hearts beating faster. After all, the Imperial Jade Seal was a national treasure that had been passed down for thousands of years. Then Kai Dashi said, "Legend has it that the late Tang Emperor, Li Tsongka, carried the Imperial Jade Seal to the tower and burned himself when the kingdom was destroyed. Actually, the Imperial Jade Seal was originally in Feng Dao's hands. However, the Imperial Jade Seal wasn't in Feng Dao's tomb. I'm not too sure about the rest. However, my father left behind a notebook. It was something he gained from his lifetime of tomb raiding experience." "Tomb robbing notebook?" Zhou Hao said. Kai Dashi said, "Next to my old house, I dug a fish pond. Under the fish pond was my father's collection of cultural relics and his notes. But I have to explain in advance that he only left half of the notes. He mentioned that the Imperial Jade Seal was not in Feng Dao's tomb. There were only clues about the whereabouts of the Imperial Jade Seal in Feng Dao's tomb. As for the second half, I don't know where it is either. Send someone to their hometown immediately and take out the tomb-robbing notes. If we delay, there will be a change." Zhou Hao resolutely said to the people from the National Security Bureau. The military and the National Security Bureau immediately sent people to the hometown of Kai Dashi, a small mountain village on the back of Dongyang County. Due to the fear that the people of Tang sect or Wine Devil clans would follow them, They robbed the cultural relics and Kai Yuanchu's tomb robbery notes. Therefore, Zhou Hao went with them. The living standard of this small mountain village was relatively low. It could not even be compared to the Huayu village in the past. All the villagers lived by farming. As for Kai Yuanchu's old house, it was a very simple and crude mud house. There was indeed a small fish pond beside it. The people from the National Security Bureau immediately used a pump to drain the water from the fish pond. Then, they dug up the mud at the bottom of the pond and found 4 big boxes. There were oil papers inside to prevent the water from leaking. After opening these big boxes, Zhou Hao and the others were stunned, because there were many antique relics and various types of materials inside. Just by looking at their appearance, Zhou Hao knew that these were all national relics. If he sold all of them, he was afraid that they could be sold for several hundred million. Moreover, at the bottom of one of the boxes, there were 2 layers of gold. It should be Kai Yuanchu's harvest from selling cultural relics. He was smart. He knew that banknotes might depreciate, so he exchanged them all for gold. According to his estimation, these gold were worth tens of millions of RMB. No wonder Kai Dashi was able to take the position of county head. Zhou Hao sighed as he looked at the relics and gold. However, that was not what he cared about the most. It was the tomb-robbing notebook that Kai Dashi had mentioned. As expected, not long after, the people from the National Security Bureau found half an old notebook in one of the porcelain vases. It should be Kai Yuanchu's tomb robbery notebook. Since they found it, Zhou Hao and the others did not need to stay here anymore. They transported all the big boxes into the car. Zhou Hao also took the tomb robbing notes and left the small mountain village with them. In the car, Zhou Hao impatiently opened the half of the tomb robbing notes Kai Yuanchu left behind. From the tomb robbing notes, Zhou Hao sighed. This Kai Yuanchu was indeed a very brilliant tomb robber. From the age of 16 to 17, there were no less than 100 ancient tombs that he had entered in his life, but they were all medium-sized and small-scale ancient tombs. Even if he joined forces with the other tomb raiders, he wouldn't dare to enter the emperor's tomb easily because there were many traps inside. If he wasn't careful, he would die. It was mentioned in the notes that Kai Yuanchu had found Feng Dao's true tomb by chance. Since he had heard that the imperial jade seal was in Feng Dao's tomb, he couldn't wait to sneak in. However, even though Feng Dao's tomb had many valuable burial items, there were no traces of the imperial jade seal. There was only a map placed in Feng Dao's coffin. According to Kai Yuanchu's estimations, this map recorded the location of the imperial jade seal. However, there were no more notes here. The other half had been torn off. Judging from the degree of age of the tear, Zhou Hao estimated that the second half had been torn off many years ago. *M in it. Zhou Hao only knew that the clue of the imperial jade seal was on a map, but there was no trace of the map. He could not help but curse. However, the secret son of the Wind Devil clan, Kataru Tanaka, was hiding in the Public Security Bureau and trying to get close to Kai Shueha. He probably wanted to find this notebook. From the looks of it, what they knew was not as much as what Zhou Hao knew. As Kai Yuanchu's son, even Kai Dashi did not know much. Therefore, the clue of the imperial jade seal had been cut off. However, finding these relics and gold didn't mean that I returned empty-handed. Zhou Hao looked at the few large boxes and said. After returning, Zhou Hao told Zhao Dingzhou and Chao Taojie everything that happened this time. When they heard that the clues about the imperial jade seal had been cut off, they also looked disappointed. It was still all right if this great treasure didn't appear. But now, it had caused such a huge storm just because of its clues. It really caught them off guard. Zhao Dingzhou said, but compared to the imperial jade seal, I'm more concerned about the Tang sect and the Wind Devil clan. Zhou Hao nodded. The Tang sect is a little better. After all, they are survivors of the Tang dynasty and are considered the most authentic Tang. Moreover, they have never participated in politics. They live a life of seclusion and are only interested in imperial jade seals. However, those Wind Devil clans have been hiding in our country ever since the war. This threat is not small. In particular, the people from these 2 organizations are very strong. Previously, we had many layers of arrangements in the military camp, but they actually managed to sneak in. Our National Security Bureau even sacrificed a specialist. He said to Tao Jia, these people are even more powerful than the special forces in our country. If they are used by the government in terms of intelligence, they will be very useful. Zhao Dingzhou snorted. Although these people are much stronger than our special forces. However, if we let them fight the First Army, I believe they won't be able to gain any benefits. First Army? Xiang Taojie was also slightly moved. I once heard from the minister that it is the strongest and most mysterious force in our country. They have repeatedly clashed with the four major intelligence agencies of the world and are not at a disadvantage at all. Hearing Zhao Dingzhou and Qiao Taojie's words, Zhou Hao's heart was also somewhat shaken. He knew that the so-called four major intelligence departments of the world were the Central Intelligence Department of the United States, the former Soviet Union's National Security Committee, which was also known as the KGB. There was also the Mossad Intelligence Department in Israel, as well as the British MI5. These four intelligence departments that belonged to different countries were famous all around the world. They had great influence in the First and Second World War. This was the background of the many spy war movies that 007 represented. Yet, Qiao Taojie actually said that the mysterious force in the country called First Army could not be at a disadvantage in a confrontation with these intelligence agencies that possessed enormous power. How powerful was First Army then? Although Zhou Hao did not know much about the Tang sect and the Wind Devil clan, their strength was mainly shown in their ability to hide and fight alone. If they had enough information and funds, the Tang sect and the Wind Devil clans could not be compared to the intelligence agencies operated by those countries. Also, the CIA and the other four intelligence departments were very famous all over the world. Zhou Hao had only heard about the First Army that Zhao Dingzhou and Qiao Taojie had mentioned just now. This did not mean that the First Army was weak. Instead, it was much better hidden than the four intelligence departments. This was the so-called good fighters do not have outstanding achievements. It was because the intelligence departments in the United States, the Soviet Union, Israel, and the United Kingdom were so famous that every country was wary of them. On the contrary, most people thought that China's intelligence department was lacking in equipment and manpower and did not pose much of a threat. This caused them to lower their vigilance against China, which made it easier for them to infiltrate information. Therefore, Zhou Hao is now very interested in the mysterious First Army, especially the wonderful legend of their confrontation with the four major intelligence departments in the world. It was really fascinating. The First Army does not belong to our security bureau, nor is it under the jurisdiction of the military. It is an independent department that is not open to the public. He smiled at Zhou Hao and said, they are only responsible for the highest leaders, so they are less constrained and can maintain high efficiency. Zhao Dingzhou also said, the current captain of First Army used to be comrades with Old Zhu. The Old Zhu he was talking about was the commander of the Nanjing military, Zhu Yongquan. Old Zhu once told me that they were all serving in the Special Forces Company in Beijing. That guy's skills were incredible. Even the security chief at that time was no match for him. Old Zhu said that even until now, he has never seen such a powerful person. As he spoke, he glanced at Zhou Hao. A complicated and indescribable expression flashed across his eyes. Zhou Hao was a man of character. He immediately caught the glimpse of Zhao Dingzhou's gaze, but he felt strange in his heart. Why is Big Brother looking at me like that? Don't tell me he wants me to participate in the First Army? The First Army. Although it's fascinating, I've never thought of joining the army. However, Zhao Dingzhou only glanced at Zhou Hao and did not mention anything about Zhou Hao joining the army. This made Zhou Hao heave a sigh of relief. At this time, he said to Tao Jia, all right, we will continue to investigate about the Imperial Jade Seal. Xiao Hao, you have to be careful too. This time, you have destroyed the matter of the Tang sect and the Wind Devil clans. You have to be wary of their revenge. If they dare to come, I will make sure they won't be able to return. Zhou Hao said coldly. Although he said that, what he said made sense. In particular, those Wind Devil clan people were all equipped with bombs, ready to die together with the enemy at any time. It was not a small threat. Zhao Dingzhou said, Xiao Hao, the special forces you invited earlier originally had a few more days before they officially retire. But now that the people of Tang sect and Wind Devil clan are a big threat, I might as well let them retire early and become your family's bodyguards. Zhou Hao agreed readily when he heard that. He thought that Mr. Zhao really knew how to be humane. He could tell what he wanted just by looking at his expression. Then I'll have to thank you, big brother. Thus, when he left the military region, Zhou Hao also took away the 20 over retired Special Forces soldiers. Zhou Hao planned to arrange 2 bodyguards for each of his family and women. This way, he would feel more at ease when he wasn't by their side. After spending some effort, Zhou Hao finally settled down the 20 bodyguards. For this, Zhou Hao also bought 2 more units in Guanghu Manor, spending more than 2 million. However, this 2 million was nothing to the current Zhou Hao. As for the 2 bodyguards that were arranged to protect Li Ruolin, Zhou Hao placed them in another instructor's dormitory next to Li Ruolin's. Zhou Hao informed the school in advance and gave the principal a sum of money as rent. Furthermore, in order to cover up, the 2 bodyguards acted as the school's police in Yining Middle School on the surface. Wang Shijuan and Wang Zhengcai had not returned from their grandmother's side. while Yin Qingqing had returned from Huayu village. She told Zhou Hao that the fruit trees on the mountain that had been destroyed by the fire had been replanted with saplings. Those fruit farmers even asked Yin Qingqing to come back and thank Zhou Hao. There was also that Kai Shuahe. Although the National Security Bureau had promised Kai Dashi that they would let Kai Shuahe go, Kai Shuahe was only exempt from the death penalty. He still had to be sentenced to life imprisonment. Of course, this was also Zhou Hao's intention. Kai Shuahe had done all kinds of bad things. Not only did he make people set fire to him, but he also made Zhou Hao unhappy that he dared to covet Yin Qingqing. Therefore, Zhou Hao would not let him out. After dealing with these matters, Zhou Hao prepared to take a flight to Beijing tomorrow. As for Yang Jiabao, she had previously heard that her family still had some things to do, so she would only go to Beijing 1 or 2 days later than Zhou Hao. Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing helped Zhou Hao pack the clothes that he changed into after going to Beijing. Yin Tong also instructed Zhou Hao to be filial to Zhao Rixin and Yin Xinlin's husband and wife. When Zhou Hao was in Hong Kong, Yin Tong had gone to Beijing with Liu Shiping to see Zhao Rixin and his wife. The two families got along very well. Yin Tong and Liu Shiping also bought a few shops in Beijing. They planned to develop the branches of Mrs. Zhou's restaurant and romantic cake shops. With the help of Zhao family, these matters naturally came naturally. The night was deep. After Zhou Hao finished bathing, Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing had already returned to their rooms to sleep. Zhou Hao had an idea and quietly went to Yin Qingqing's room. He gently twisted his hand and found that Yin Qingqing's room door was indeed not locked. He was delighted and pushed the door open and walked in. Zhou Hao wanted to hide his whereabouts. Even the people of Tang Sect and Wind Devil Clan could not find him. Yin Qingqing, who was on the bed, did not know that a man had suddenly appeared in her room. She looked at Yin Qingqing, who was lying on the bed. Zhou Hao laughed in his heart. Without saying anything, he lifted the thin blanket and laid down on the bed. Yin Qingqing, who had been thinking about Zhou Hao to sleep, suddenly felt that there was another person on the bed. She was about to cry out in shock, but her mouth was immediately covered by Zhou Hao. "Cousin, it's me. Don't scream, or Mom will be alarmed." Hearing Zhou Hao's familiar voice, Yin Qingqing calmed down. At the same time, she felt that Zhou Hao had crawled into her bed late at night. Clearly, he had bad intentions and her face turned red. After Zhou Hao released the hand that covered her mouth, she asked, knowing the answer, You come in. What are you doing? Aren't you going to Beijing tomorrow?" "It's because I'm going to Beijing tomorrow and I have to go to Hong Kong after I return. That's why I'm here tonight." Zhou Hao smiled and stretched out his right hand from below to hold Yin Qingqing's delicate shoulder. "Cousin, have you heard of a proverb?" Being hugged by Zhou Hao, Yin Qingqing's face became even redder. Her body was also a little hot. She said absent-mindedly, What mantra?" Zhou Hao moved his head to Yin Qingqing's side, almost touching her ear, and said with a smile, "Steal the jade and steal the incense." The two of them faced each other in the bathroom. When Zhou Hao saw Yin Qingqing's petite and exquisite figure, he sighed in his heart at the mysteriousness of the Creator to be able to create such a beautiful woman. During the bath, Zhou Hao naturally could not avoid showing off his brotherhood with Yin Qingqing. He teased Yin Qingqing until she could not even stand steadily. She had always leaned into Zhou Hao's arms. After the bath, Zhou Hao did not return to Yin Qingqing's room. He directly carried her back to his room upstairs and laid on his bed, hugging and sleeping. "Cousin, do you remember when we were little? We slept together?" Zhou Hao hugged Yin Qingqing and smiled. Yin Qingqing extended her finger and tapped the tip of his nose. "Of course I remember. Your favorite thing is that you want me to help you massage your back. Do you want cousin to help you massage your back again?" Seeing Zhou Hao nod and turn around, Yin Qingqing reached out and gently caressed Zhou Hao's back. The two of them couldn't help but think of the happy times when they were young. After spending some effort, Zhou Hao finally settled down the 20 bodyguards. For this, Zhou Hao also bought 2 more units in Guanghu Manor, spending more than 2 million. However, this 2 million was nothing to the current Zhou Hao. As for the 2 bodyguards that were arranged to protect Li Ruolin, Zhou Hao placed them in another instructor's dormitory next to Li Ruolin's. Zhou Hao informed the school in advance and gave the principal a sum of money as rent. Furthermore, in order to cover up, the 2 bodyguards acted as the school's police in Yining Middle School on the surface. Wang Shijuan and Wang Zhengcai had not returned from their grandmother's side, while Yin Qingqing had returned from Huayu village. She told Zhou Hao that the fruit trees on the mountain that had been destroyed by the fire had been replanted with saplings. Those fruit farmers even asked Yin Qingqing to come back and thank Zhou Hao. There was also that Kai Shuahe. Although the National Security Bureau had promised Kai Dashi that they would let Kai Shuahe go, Kai Shuahe was only exempt from the death penalty. he still had to be sentenced to life imprisonment. Of course, this was also Zhou Hao's intention. Kai Shuahu had done all kinds of bad things. Not only did he make people set fire to him, but he also made Zhou Hao unhappy that he dared to covet Yan Qingqing. Therefore, Zhou Hao would not let him out. After dealing with these matters, Zhou Hao prepared to take a flight to Beijing tomorrow. As for Yang Jiabao, she had previously heard that her family still had some things to do, so she would only go to Beijing 1 or 2 days later than Zhou Hao. Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing helped Zhou Hao pack the clothes that he changed into after going to Beijing. Yin Tong also instructed Zhou Hao to be filial to Zhao Rixin and Yin Xinlin's husband and wife. When Zhou Hao was in Hong Kong, Yin Tong had gone to Beijing with Liu Shiping to see Zhao Rixin and his wife. The two families got along very well. Yin Tong and Liu Shiping also bought a few shops in Beijing. They planned to develop the branches of Mrs. Zhou's restaurant and romantic cake shops. With the help of Zhao family, these matters naturally came naturally. The night was deep. After Zhou Hao finished bathing, Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing had already returned to their rooms to sleep. Zhou Hao had an idea and quietly went to Yin Qingqing's room. He gently twisted his hand and found that Yin Qingqing's room door was indeed not locked. He was delighted and pushed the door open and walked in. Zhou Hao wanted to hide his whereabouts. Even the people of Tang Sect and Wind Devil Clan could not find him. Yin Qingqing, who was on the bed, did not know that a man had suddenly appeared in her room. She looked at Yin Qingqing, who was lying on the bed. Zhou Hao laughed in his heart. Without saying anything, he lifted the thin blanket and laid down on the bed. Yin Qingqing, who had been thinking about Zhou Hao to sleep, suddenly felt that there was another person on the bed. She was about to cry out in shock, but her mouth was immediately covered by Zhou Hao. "Cousin, it's me. Don't scream, or Mom will be alarmed." Hearing Zhou Hao's familiar voice, Yin Qingqing calmed down. At the same time, she felt that Zhou Hao had crawled into her bed late at night. Clearly, he had bad intentions and her face turned red. After Zhou Hao released the hand that covered her mouth, she asked, knowing the answer, You come in. What are you doing? Aren't you going to Beijing tomorrow?" "It's because I'm going to Beijing tomorrow and I have to go to Hong Kong after I return. That's why I'm here tonight." Zhou Hao smiled and stretched out his right hand from below to hold Yin Qingqing's delicate shoulder. "Cousin, have you heard of a proverb?" Being hugged by Zhou Hao, Yin Qingqing's face became even redder. Her body was also a little hot. She said absent-mindedly, What mantra?" Zhou Hao moved his head to Yin Qingqing's side, almost touching her ear, and said with a smile, "Steal the jade and steal the incense." The two of them faced each other in the bathroom. When Zhou Hao saw Yin Qingqing's petite and exquisite figure, he sighed in his heart at the mysteriousness of the Creator to be able to create such a beautiful woman. During the bath, Zhou Hao naturally could not avoid showing off his brotherhood with Yin Qingqing. He teased Yin Qingqing until she could not even stand steadily. She had always leaned into Zhou Hao's arms. After the bath, Zhou Hao did not return to Yin Qingqing's room. He directly carried her back to his room upstairs and laid on his bed, hugging and sleeping. "Cousin, do you remember when we were little? We slept together?" Zhou Hao hugged Yin Qingqing and smiled. Yin Qingqing extended her finger and tapped the tip of his nose. "Of course I remember. Your favorite thing is that you want me to help you massage your back. Do you want cousin to help you massage your back again?" Seeing Zhou Hao nod and turn around, Yin Qingqing reached out and gently caressed Zhou Hao's back. The two of them couldn't help but think of the happy times when they were young. The next morning, Zhou Hao went to the Guangzhou's Baiyun airport and planned to take a plane to Beijing. Because this was not Zhou Hao's first time going to Beijing, therefore, Yin Tong and the others did not need to send the plane. However, before boarding the plane, Zhou Hao received a call from Yang Jiabao. "Zhou Hao, are you going to Beijing now?" Yang Jiabao asked Zhou Hao over the phone. Zhou Hao answered with a smile, "Yes. Yeah, now that we're on the plane, when can you get there? I miss you." Yang Jiabao's sweet words immediately came through the phone. "I miss you too, but I think I will only be able to go tomorrow." "Oh right, which flight are you on? When will you be in Beijing?" "It's an 8 o'clock flight in the morning. I should be in Beijing at 11 o'clock. Zhou Hao said. "I will call you when the time comes," Wang Yao said. Yang Jiabao said sweetly, and then hung up. After hanging up the phone and boarding the plane, Zhou Hao felt lucky, because Zhao Yuqin would be the one to pick him up when he went to Beijing later, and Yang Jiabao would only be there tomorrow. This way, it would avoid the awkwardness of the two girls meeting. A day's time was enough for Zhou Hao to arrange the two girls. On the plane, Zhou Hao's mind was filled with thoughts of meeting Zhao Yuqin later. Regarding Zhao Yuqin, this stunning beauty who looked like a lover but more like an elder sister, Zhou Hao loved her from the bottom of his heart. Zhao Yuqin was gentle and considerate towards Zhou Hao, and she also took care of Zhou Hao's family business thoroughly, deeply serving Zhou Hao's left and right arms. Apart from the only weakness of poor culinary skills, Zhao Yuqin could be said to be a perfect internal helper. She was a lover and confidant that every man dreamed of. It has been almost 2 months since we last met. I wonder what changes sister has made. Zhou Hao smiled in his heart. It took about 3 hours to get from Guangzhou to Beijing. When they got off the plane, it was exactly 11 o'clock. When Zhou Hao arrived at the departure hall, he saw Zhao Yuqin, who had been waiting for him there a long time ago. Although there were many people in the terminal, it did not hinder Zhao Yuqin's attention at all. Standing in the crowd, Zhao Yuqin was like a crane standing in a flock of chickens. It was very difficult to not notice her. At this time, it was summer and Zhao Yuqin was wearing a black professional suit. The silk white shirt of the lotus leaf collar and the black suit jacket of the collar. Below was a knee-length skirt, and her slender legs were wrapped in black stockings. She wore a pair of black high heels as well. Furthermore, Zhao Yuqin's hair had changed from straight to a slightly wavy hairstyle and looked more mature. Dressed in the same professional outfit, Su Lin displayed a kind of experienced temperament, and her role was placed on the secretary. In comparison, Zhao Yuqin seemed to be more mature than Su Lin. Moreover, her temperament was that of a superior person and her role was determined. She was the decision-maker of a company or a group. Although they were both strong women, Zhao Yuqin was the same as Su Lin. No matter how strong and decisive they were in the outside world, in front of Zhou Hao, they would immediately become gentle fingers. They only wanted to make their beloved man happy. When he saw Zhao Yuqin standing there and looking at him with a gentle and affectionate smile, Zhou Hao couldn't help but quicken his pace and walk over. The two of them didn't say anything. They just tightly hugged each other, enjoying each other's questions and breathing. Smelling the faint fragrance between Zhao Yuqin's hair, Zhou Hao whispered into her ear, "Older sister, I miss you. I miss you so much." "Sister too." Zhao Yuqin leaned her head on Zhou Hao's shoulder. "I miss you so much that I almost can't sleep. Then I will sleep with sister tonight." Zhou Hao smiled and said. He felt Zhao Yuqin's tall and straight breasts pressing against his chest, and his heart could not help but tremble. When Zhao Yuqin heard Zhou Hao's words, the hand that wrapped around his waist pinched the soft meat on top of it, and she pouted. "You're so annoying. I knew you were up to no good." There was a slight anger on her face, but there was a deep gentleness and joy in her eyes. Zhou Hao. But at this moment, a scream came from not far away, with strong anger and deep sorrow. Zhou Hao, who was still hugging Zhao Yuqin, heard the sharp sound and his body shook violently. His neck turned stiffly towards the direction where the sound came from. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief, because he saw that the person standing there was actually Yang Jiabao. He saw Yang Jiabao wearing a blue t-shirt and a pink short skirt with 100 folds. There was also a small backpack on her back. She was originally dressed very casually and cutely, but at this moment, her pretty face was covered with tears. Her expression was filled with sadness and anger as she glared at Zhou Hao. Didn't she only arrive tomorrow?" Zhou Hao murmured. "It seems like she lied to you on purpose. She probably wanted to give you a surprise." Zhao Yuqin, who was beside him, knew what the little girl was thinking and immediately guessed Yang Jiabao's intentions. But in this situation, she could not help but feel embarrassed and disappointed. After listening to Zhao Yuqin's words, Zhou Hao finally understood. He thought that it was no wonder Yang Jiabao had specifically asked him when he would arrive in Beijing. It turned out that she had already made up her mind to meet him at the airport. She wanted to give him a surprise. Now that she saw the intimacy between Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin on the spot, it hurt Yang Jiabao too much. "Jiabao, Zhou Hao looked at Yang Jiabao, who had tears streaming down her face. He wanted to explain something, but he could not say anything. "Zhou Hao, I hate you so much." Yang Jiabao screamed and ran out of the waiting room, covering her face. "Jiabao," Zhou Hao called, but Yang Jiabao did not look back. She staggered and walked away. Only the crystal tears that she sprinkled in the air responded to Zhou Hao. The surrounding passengers saw this and immediately knew what was going on, especially those men. Their eyes were full of gloating. "Serves you right. To let a brat like you step on 2 ships and both of them are so beautiful. Aren't you afraid of losing your life?" Initially, when they saw Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin hugging each other, their hearts were already filled with jealousy. When Yang Jiabao appeared, everyone immediately guessed that this young girl with delicate facial features must have something to do with Zhou Hao. The appearance of 2 women at the same time was very exciting. Looking at Yang Jiabao's back, which was slowly being overwhelmed by the crowd, Zhou Hao's heart was in a dilemma. "Go, explain yourself." Zhao Yuqin, who was beside him, said softly. Zhou Hao shook his head and sighed. So what if I chase after them? How should I explain it? Say that you and I are just ordinary friends, and that you don't have any other feelings for each other? No, I can't say it. Xiao Hao. Zhao Yuqin's heart ached when she saw Zhou Hao's lonely expression, but she felt sweet when she heard his words. Sister. Zhou Hao grabbed her hand. You have sacrificed so much for me. Don't tell me I don't even dare to admit that you are my woman? Then what kind of man am I? Elder sister, how can you be worthy of entrusted to me? Zhao Yuqin touched Zhou Hao's forehead. You are too stubborn sometimes. Although she said that, her heart was completely melted by Zhou Hao's words. She felt that it was worth it to do so much for him. Zhou Hao said, as for Jiabao, let her be quiet for a while. Anyway, she will know about this sooner or later. It is better to have a short period of pain than a long period of pain. If she cannot accept it. So what if she can't accept it? Will you give up on her? Zhao Yuqin rolled her eyes at him. I haven't said anything about you. I told you not to provoke her before. Do you have many women by your side? Humph. It seems like you've taken my words as wind by the side of your ears again. Look at how she acted just now. It's clear that she's deeply in love with you. Seeing Zhao Yuqin pretending to be angry, Zhou Hao smiled bitterly and said, Elder sister, I am already very distressed. Don't add insult to injury when I am down. I am almost worried to death. All right. I really can't do anything to you. When I see that my man has another woman, I have to comfort him. I think I'm the dumbest woman in the world. Zhao Yuqin lightly knocked on Zhou Hao's forehead. Of course not. Sister, you are the best woman in the world. Zhou Hao said. After that, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin left the airport and headed to the Zhao family. However, the joy of not seeing each other again for a long time had become gloomy because of Yang Jiabao. Yang Jiabao cried as she left the waiting hall. The scene of Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin tightly hugging each other kept replaying in her mind. In the beginning, Yang Jiabao was still comforting herself in her heart, lying to herself that Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin were just ordinary friends. But if the two of them were ordinary friends, why would they hug each other so tightly for so long? And looking at their expressions, they were simply lovers who had not seen each other for a long time. When she ran out of the airport's entrance, Yang Jiabao stopped and turned around to look back. However, she did not see Zhou Hao chasing after her, so she could not help but stamp her foot. She said anxiously, Big bad guy, you really did not chase after me. I hate you to death. When she finished speaking, tears gushed out of her eyes again. He turned around and wanted to leave, but just as he took a step forward, he bumped into a person. Because she had bumped into Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin, Yang Jiabao's mood was already extremely bad. Now that she bumped into someone, she immediately cried out with a crying voice, You didn't bring your eyes? She looked up at the person and found that he looked familiar. She thought for a while, and remembered that this man was the Dong Qishan she and Zhou Hao had met in Guilin. It's you? Yang Jiabao asked softly. Dong Qishan was hit by Yang Jiabao and heard her scolding. Just as he was about to get angry, he saw Yang Jiabao's beautiful face that was filled with tears. He looked very familiar with her. It was only when Yang Jiabao called out softly that he remembered. This very beautiful girl was the person who had been with Zhou Hao and Guilin. Do you like this video? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated. See you soon.